What's up, everybody? It's your boy Justin from Justin Paul Sports. Got to move the camera down a little bit. It is Friday, October the 17th. We are headed into a little bit of the second quarter of the NFL season. Got some great games last week for college football. We got some great NFL matchups going on this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to say thank you that I have 200 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get rolling on today's show. Let me introduce my host, the co-host with the most from the great state of Mississippi, Bobby from Bobby's Big Board. What's going on, Bobby?
What's going on, man? Another week down, another great week of college football, another great week of NFL matchups. There's a lot of really intriguing matchups that I'm excited to talk about this week, both college and NFL. So, yeah, just great time to be a ball fan, that's for sure.
Got some fantasy insanity, LFG. We love to see it. Man, gorgeous night out here in Arizona. It's in the 70s. It's cooling off finally. Got a little bit of reprieve from the summers that we get out here. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and start with our college football.
Yeah, man. I absolutely would love to. So last week, man, we actually kind of killed it a little bit. I did a little bit better this week, or last week rather, at some of the picks. But let's go ahead and look. So right now I'm 24-17 against the spread. We pick 6 games every single week if you're not aware of what we do on the show. This is supposed to be week 8, not week 7. Sorry. But I'm 24-17. You are 22-18. There's a few games that you didn't want to call earlier on in the season, so that's why there's a little bit of variance there. But we've been doing really good against the spread this year. If you're anything north of 500, that's really good, especially when you're picking the spreads. But let's go ahead and kick it off with the first game that I know you have a little bit of an opinion on. It's LSU going to Nashville to play number 17 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, yeah, they didn't really hang with Alabama that well, but I think Alabama might be the best team in the SEC right now. Texas A&M might give them a run for their money in the SEC championship game if they make it there. But I do lean LSU here. I do think LSU, I think the line's 1.5 now, not 2.5. But regardless, I think I'm going LSU here. What about you? I think you're leaning the Vandy side, right?
So I'm going to try something here. That is correct. We're going to have a little bit of fun on the show here. Bobby had no idea that was coming. I like Diego Pava here. LSU, I think Nussmeier's injured. I think that he's injured, and I think that's why LSU's been puttering around on offense. This is Vanderbilt is coming off the bye. They just had that game against Alabama where they did push them to the limit. I think that they're a little more experienced, a little more battle-tested. And I do like Vanderbilt to cover the spread here. I think they win outright. It's going to be the biggest win in Nashville. It's the first time since I think it was 1948, they said, something along those lines, that Vanderbilt's been a favorite in an SEC matchup, which is insane.
Jeez,
I mean, it's double my lifetime. Yeah, it's been crazy. And we're talking about, 5 years after Hitler died. I mean, that's a long time to not be a favor in a football game. So it's just kind of crazy. But it's been pretty good. We've just been Vanderbilt's having a great season. They're a great football team. LSU, they had that loss at Ole Miss, and I think that when they face a better tier offense, they kind of struggled. I mean, they struggled in week 1 against Clemson. They haven't really crushed anybody that's been a credible, opponent. And I think with what's going on there, give me Diego Pava and his confidence, and I'll definitely take Vandy.
Yeah, that is one thing Pavia has a lot of. He's got a lot of experience and he's got a lot of confidence. And if you have experience and you have confidence, it gets you a long way, especially, he's also just a baller, man. So I do think LSU, they just have a little bit more talent across the board. But Vanderbilt, they're a very competitive team in the SEC. So like the variance there. Next up, we're going to do number 5 Ole Miss going to Athens, playing number 9 Georgia. Two teams that haven't really played up to par here lately. Ole Miss, they struggled to get Washington State out of there at Oxford when they were at home. The old Kiffin coaster, as the Ole Miss fans like to say. Those 11 o'clock games always just terrible for them for whatever reason. But I do think Georgia, the line, I feel like these teams are very similar in terms of what they what they bring to the table. They both struggled around the same amount. I think this will be a close game, and I think Ole Miss probably loses by a field goal, but that means I'm going to take the points with Ole Miss.
Well, I'm definitely not going to take Georgia to lose back to or at home. Like it's tough for me to take them to lose at home. I mean, Ole Miss has a lot to prove here. Lane Kiffin has beat Georgia. Last year they beat them, if I recall correctly, and their quarterback's playing really well. Georgia, I think, is getting a lot of pushback because they've played teams that have been better, and because they play teams that are better, it's hurting their statistics, and I think that's kind of why you're seeing the half point here. But I do think this is a super close competitive SEC game here. I love the slate this week with all the games that we got lined up. But I'm going to take Ole Miss here to cover the points. I don't think Georgia beats them by 7.5. Might be a late cover. I mean, Georgia really, really, really struggled last week against Auburn.
Yep.
And got lucky to get out of there. They were lucky to beat Auburn. They were lucky to beat Tennessee. But when they're at home, they're a little bit of a different football team.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
Unless
there
they're
is a
playing
chance
Alabama.
Yeah, I do think there is a chance that Ole Miss does win this football game and really gets that signature win that Lane Kiffin's been looking for. And I think that'll put him in the driver's seat to get to the SEC championship. This will be one of the tough because Ole Miss doesn't play Alabama this year, and their schedule is a little bit lighter. And Lane Kiffin's absolutely been coaching them up there, especially with the losses, that they had replacing Jackson Dart and Ulysses Bentley and players along those sorts.
They lost two running backs, I think, to the draft that both went undrafted. Their top receiver, their top two receivers both went to the draft. They lost their best defensive tackle and Walter Nolan. I mean, they lost a ton, but they always recruit really well. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think Georgia does win this game, but I don't think they beat them by over a touchdown. So we're on the same page there. But next up, we have Tennessee, number 11, who famously went to overtime against Mississippi State, going to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, playing number 6, Alabama. Alabama, the -8.5-point favorites. SEC play is so competitive no matter who you play, at least in this day and age, right? I mean, Arkansas looking like Kentucky and Arkansas are like towards the bottom of the barrel, and I mean they're staying competitive with teams like Ole Miss and things like that. Anytime I see an SEC line like this that's just a little bit more than a touchdown, I tend to always go with the underdog. So I do think Tennessee is a strictly worse team than Alabama, and I do think Alabama pulls off the win at home. I just don't think it's over a touchdown. I think I'll beat them by a touchdown, so I'm going to go with Tennessee plus 8.5 here, but I do think they lose the game.
It's Tennessee hate week where I'm from. You're going to tell me that the Volunteers are just going to go into Tuscaloosa where they haven't won since Peyton Manning, since I think it's 2003. They have not won in Tuscaloosa in ages. But nonetheless, that doesn't matter when it comes to betting, right? You're looking at the line here. The line's 8.5. Tennessee's got the number one offense in the country, but their defense is bleeding. And quite frankly, because of that, I think Ty Simpson's going to light that ass up. Ty Simpson's going to light that ass up. He's going to light him up at home. Last year, Tennessee smoked the cigars. We're kind of sick of them. There's a consensus among, I've been keeping an eye on Bama X and Twitter. The same thing with the Vols. Man, they don't shut up. Vols Twitter is loud. I love it for them. I love how they are. But when your best corner isn't playing this week, you're 130th in pass defense, and you're going to go on the road. You do have the number one offense, but your schedule has not been the juggernaut that Alabama's has. It just has not. You have not played at Missouri. You have not played Vanderbilt. You have not played Georgia. You played – well, actually, I take that back. You played Georgia, and you choked, and you were at home. Now you got to go on the road. Everything for the Vols is at stake here.
This is their playoff, I think. I mean, if they lose this game, I mean, it might take them out of playoff contention.
I won't say that because they'll have losses against Alabama and Georgia. So I won't say that their season's over. They'd have to win out, which is doable, but that game against Vanderbilt the rivalry week will be a fantastic showdown.
Jeez,
but I'm going to take Alabama to cover the points here. I think they're out for blood, and I just don't see how they can stop anybody. Jam Miller's supposed to play. Mm-hmm. Ryan Williams, I think this is where he has a breakout game. I think Ryan Williams goes out there finally. I think he was hurt in the Missouri game, and I think that's why he didn't get any looks. I think he was out there as a decoy. But you got an extra week to come back from it. And even if Jam Miller doesn't play well, I still like Alabama's backfield with Kevin Riley and A.K. Deere and those guys. And I think that they're going to move the ball rather well. Their games have been close, but their games have been dominant. And I think this is personal for the Crimson Tide. So I would take Alabama to cover 8.5. And quite frankly, I won't make this a comedy show, y'all. I'm only going to do this stuff during. I'm just testing it out.
Next up, we have number 7, Texas Tech. We knew Texas Tech was going to be good, but we really didn't know what their ceiling was going to look like. They're number 7 in the country. They're going on the road to play Arizona State, who was, ranked around the 10 to 12 mark early on in the season. Texas Tech is minus 12.5 point favorites. I put this game on here because I do think it's a very interesting matchup because we haven't really talked about the Red Raiders that much. We tend to stick to Big Ten and SEC games. And I'm just like, Texas Tech ain't got no love, man. We got to talk about them. I do think they're going to absolutely obliterate Arizona State despite the talent that they have. I think Texas Tech is one of the best teams in the country right now. They just have to play some good competition. I think this is one of their first big tests against Arizona State, and I think they're going to pass it with flying colors.
Oh, I'm actually going against you here. I'm taking it at Sun Devils for one of the things that Kenny Dillingham said. He talked about accountability, and he said, the fan base should be aggravated when we lose. They should be upset when we perform poorly because that means we have to do some introspection. I'm not quoting him verbatim there, but he's basically saying we have to make decisions that's best for our football team, and we have to improve. They still have an all-elite receiver. They still have their corner or their quarterback, back. The game is here in Tempe. I'm going to take the Sun Devils to cover. I'm not so sure they'll win the football game outright. Might be, Texas Tech might just actually come out there and put belt to ass like you're thinking. But
they've been impressive, man. I don't know.
They have been, but awesome. They are also respectfully in the Big 12.
Yep.
And when you're in the Big 12, you tend to be offensively, you're a little more inflated than what you really are. I mean,
that's who you're playing against, right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it just feels like with the Sun Devils, they've been chugging along. They're missing Scadaboo clearly, but when you got a player like that, you're gonna miss them when they go pro, especially a program that's not getting 5 stars, which Texas Tech is getting with that oil money. Texas Tech
getting a roster together, man. They're spending a lot on old Texas Tech right now.
I mean, that line's jumped. I mean, that line was really out of hand for a bit there. I'm kind of surprised it's still at 12.5. I had saw it at 7 at one point, which means it's trending in the opposite way. But if the line's still that large, I'll definitely take Arizona State in the points. But if it's down to 7, I think that might be a little bit too rich for my blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, next up, we've got a really interesting matchup. I was real big on USC last week, and they get to go on the road and play Notre Dame, number 13. I'm not the biggest Notre Dame guy. I'm a little bit of a Notre Dame hater, in my opinion. Just not really ever been the biggest fan of theirs, especially after what they did to my Army Black Knights last year. Kind of just killed their hopes and dreams. But I do like the USC offense. I love Wyman Jordan. I don't know if you guys know that name, but he is a monster. He didn't have the biggest game like I thought he was going to last week, but I do think against Notre Dame he can do some damage. I like USC plus 8.5. I would actually sprinkle a little bit on the money line for USC here. I think that they are one of the best underdogs for the money line right now. So definitely going with the Trojans here.
That is a Bobby bomb, and I love it. I like USC to pull the upset as well. I do. The money line on USC, it's about plus 300, 3-1. I think the Trojans are grossly undervalued. Yeah, I think there's just some real value on this. So I'm fully on board with USC going in there and handling the business. This is going to be an elimination game for both these teams. This is going to have a playoff-like atmosphere. It's a premier matchup. I think that this is the end of what's going on with the USC Notre Dame rivalry, sadly. But nonetheless, I do predict that USC wins outright. What did that guy say? Texas Tech will definitely cover.
Look. Hey, Lane's on the same side as me, man. I respect that.
They're building something. It's crazy because Texas Tech is not known for being the elite football program in that state. Clearly, there's Texas, the Longhorns, there's A&M, and there's been spurts of Baylor and
Yeah.
Houston even, and Texas Tech has been on the back burner kind of since Crabtree. They really haven't been as relevant. Ironically, they had two, Kingsbury was quarterback there, Mahomes was quarterback there. They had a quarterback named Graham Harrell who threw for 1,000,000 yards that played there at one point. So there were spurts, but never like on this level.
The defense was always horrible.
Well, that's a Big
Mahomes
12
could throw
thing.
60 touchdowns and they just could never get it going on defense, right? So,
But yeah, I like USC to win outright, but I'll definitely take the points.
heck yeah. And then the last matchup, we got a little SEC matchup, number 14, Oklahoma. They're coming off a really upsetting loss to Texas in the Red River. We were both fully invested. Oklahoma was going to just destroy Texas. And Mateer goes out there and kind of lays a goose egg, right, against this Texas defense. We knew Texas's defense was good, but Mateer, man, I know he's not fully healthy from his injury, but man, he looked really bad. I mean, the decision making with him has always been bad, at least this year, anyways. And they kind of gave him. He was drinking the Kool-Aid, I think, a little bit. He was, I'm the Heisman candidate. He's playing great football. He's just hyped a little bit too much. And I think that got to him a little bit maybe, and just kind of went out there and just kind of threw caution to the wind, and Texas made him pay. But this time he gets a little bit easier of a matchup against South Carolina. And South Carolina, man, they have just been struggling on offense. They have a lot of firepower with Nick Harbor and Lenore Sellers, right? But they just haven't really gotten it going on offense. Lenoris hasn't really been putting up a bunch of really good stats right now throughout this year. He's obviously has the talent. Nick Harbor is just a freak athlete. But Oklahoma minus 5.5. This is going to be weird. I think that Texas game really took a lot out of Oklahoma. I think I'm going with the upset, and I think South Carolina. I don't know if they win, but I'm going to go South Carolina plus 5.5 here.
I don't know about that. I think I'm going to take Oklahoma to cover, and I think Oklahoma puts belt to ass on South Carolina. Listen,
they have to respond one way or another, right? It's either deflation or you got to go out like Alabama did to whoever y'all played in week 2 where y'all put 70 on their face.
Yeah, but that's a little different because you're going down in competition. Yeah. And this is a step down in competition from Texas. This isn't a rivalry game, but you're still on the road. And I hope our buddy Steven Garcia, isn't watching. God bless him. He's Gamecock for life. But nonetheless, South Carolina's got to prove it to me. I'm gonna lay 5.5 here. Oklahoma, I think that if Mateer was healthy, they would have beat Texas. Because Texas still hasn't really put together a complete game in my eyes. There are times when Arch Manning looks electric, and then there's times when for every one great series, there's 3 that are lousy. Yeah, and he just hasn't been able to put it together.
Texas football, man, because look, I saw what Quinn Ewers did at some points throughout the NFL preseason. Yes, it's preseason, but he looked much better on an NFL stock offense than he did in Texas. I don't know what it is with that offense for Texas, but it's just like drives just sputter out all the time. I don't know what it is. I hate watching that offense. I'm not going to say it's not Arch's fault because he definitely has some really poor throws here and there, but that Texas offense is not giving any quarterback any favors. I can't think of the last quarterback from Texas that's just been like, oh, wow, just really – I don't know. It's just not the offense that I like, especially under Sark. No offense to him, but –
nonetheless, Oklahoma covers. I think Oklahoma might put 50 on this team and cover the over by themselves.
Really? 50 in an SEC matchup is crazy.
Well, their offense is pretty good when Mateer is healthy. And South Carolina hasn't – I mean, South Carolina really just hasn't done a whole lot this year. They really have not. And, Missouri took them to the shed. And that's a team that moves the ball pretty well and can run the ball well. I just wonder how it is with Mateer's hand, but – I'm not going to say that they're going to – I should backtrack a little bit. I just think that Oklahoma will beat them by 10. I think 10 or more is on the table here for sure.
It's weird because, I want to say Oklahoma got Ott from Cal, Jaden Ott, right? He hasn't done very much. I thought he was going to do a lot more. He was our spotlight player for Oklahoma, and he just really hasn't done all that much. I was kind of surprised. But without further ado – Let me make sure this is week 8.
Let's go. Let's
I
get
mean,
on.
week 7, right? Let me make sure that I'm not. Yeah, it is week 7. Great. All right. So if you guys aren't super familiar with the show, we do our 6 games. We do our predictions on 6 college games, and then the rest of the show, we're doing predictions on spreads, and we're doing start sits for fantasy for each and every game. So if you're interested in that, we definitely like for you to stay with us a little bit and go over some NFL. So first game that's coming on. Honestly, man, I know it's very polarizing, these overseas games. Dude, I kind of love it, dude. I kind of love it. It's not, look, it could be anywhere in the world. I wouldn't care. But like the fact that I can wake up, because I wake up early anyways, I don't have to wait all the way until 12 o'clock my time for the games to start. I got a game that comes on at 9. So it's like, it's more time covering football for me. So
it kicks off at 6:30 here.
I get it. It's 9:15, I think, for me. So I love that. For me, it's perfect. Now, yes, the London, I get it's all a money grab for the NFL, and teams don't probably love going to overseas locations because I'm sure it sucks, especially if you're on a short week. Could you imagine? But nonetheless, the Rams. This is one of my favorite underdogs of the week, by the way. The Rams. This line is moved to -3.5, by the way, for the Rams. Rams going on the road, kind of, to the Jaguars. There's a lot of Jaguars fans in London because they play there all the time. I got the Jags +2.5 here. I think that Puka Nacua being out is kind of a problem, a big problem for this Rams offense. And the defense just doesn't really have that much talent on it outside of Jared Verse, who in his own right is having a great year. But I think the Jaguars, man, they've just been rolling. They beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. They've just continued to roll and roll and roll. Trevor Lawrence isn't throwing it into harm's way over and over again. Travis Etienne's running the ball well. They've got 2 solid receivers, some defensive players as well. They're just kind of well-rounded all across the board. So I like the Jaguars here in a slight upset versus the Rams.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's an upset, especially with Nacua being out. I mean, because then you make the Rams have to throw it to Devontae Adams, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, he's a fantastic receiver, and you're going to see more of Whittingham getting in the offense. I'm sure of it, and do it well. And the Rams can run the football, but I think that if you're going all the way from Los Angeles to London compared to Jacksonville to London, there is a little bit of an extra lag that you're going to have to get used to, and that'll definitely factor in. And the reason the Jaguars play so many games in London is because Shad Khan owns one of the football clubs over there as well, and I think he's from there. I know he's from India, but I think that he has residency in there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's why they play so much over there. I think that if there was an NFL franchise in London, he would be the guy that'd want to take it over. It's so funny that of all the places in the United States that he lives, in Jacksonville, fucking Florida. No offense to Jacksonville. I actually kind of,
there's some spots in Jacksonville. It's a little.
It's always funny to me when somebody comes to the United States and they pick certain spots on the map, and I just wonder if they're just wondering what it's like to live in that particular spot in the United States, if they just generalize America to be one entity that it is, and everybody's the same everywhere, and they don't understand the culture shock. Can you imagine? I mean, that's the closest you can get to the Panhandle, Florida. I mean, it's just wild. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I want to say one thing before we get into the start sits. For whatever reason, whenever I was covering the Rams, I did not talk about Matthew Stafford. Look, the past couple of years, Matthew Stafford hasn't been lighting it up on the stat sheet, really. But, man, he is having a great year. I mean, obviously, Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua both being healthy has really skyrocketed up his passing numbers, and Kyron Williams being a good back. Yeah. Dude, he's having a phenomenal year. So very proud to see Stafford still kind of slinging it because he's always been one of my favorite quarterbacks. But nonetheless, we're going to get into the start sits for this game. I think Matthew Stafford, I know the Jags defense is meh. Matthew Stafford, I think, even without Puka Nacua, is going to light this team up, man. He's been lighting everybody up. I mean, he's been slicing and dicing all season long. I don't expect that to slow down anytime soon. Even with the big game that happened yesterday, the Unk Bowl, those 2 guys were throwing a billion yards. They still, even with that extra game, neither one of them are the passing game leader. It's still Matthew Stafford. He's he's the passing leader thus far throughout the season. So I think Stafford's a solid quarterback 1 for you right now. I think he's the quarterback 6 or 7 right now in fantasy, despite him not rushing the ball very much. And then Kyron Williams, I think he's the only other safe bet for me outside of maybe Devontae Adams. I just don't think Devontae Adams is going to have the ceiling that Puka Nacua has, because he's not the guy that you just spam target over and over. He's a little bit of more of an intermediate type of guy. But Kyron Williams, I think he can get a touchdown or 2 on this defense, and he's going to get a ton of volume because they're not going to be able to rely on that pass game as much with Puka Nacua being out. Then for the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, he's been very up and down the past few seasons. Trevor Lawrence has shown me just enough to where he can be fantasy relevant. He was just a guy last year that couldn't throw more than 2 touchdowns in a game. It's just he was allergic to it. And he still kind of has that this year, but he's got a little bit more rushing upside this year than he's had in years past. So I think he's worth starting as your QB2 if you're in a Superflex league. Travis Etienne has had a great start. He slowed down a little bit like we all kind of saw coming. He always kind of slows down a little bit as the season goes on. But he's still looking explosive. His vision's always been great. So I'd like him as a flex option for you. And then Brian Thomas Jr., people were saying this guy's a bust. This guy had a great rookie season, and now with Trevor Lawrence, he can't do anything. They're not using him right. He's afraid of the ball. He showed up back-to-back weeks, having solid fantasy performances. I think that's going to continue, and they're going to get him the ball a lot. And then for the sits, Bashul Tutin, I think he's still a change of pace guy. He may get 5 or 6 carries, but that's about his ceiling. So don't worry about him right now, especially in Dynasty. He is just a hold. Travis Hunter, a guy that I thought was going to be utilized on offense a lot more than he actually is. And he's just a guy that he's the screen merchant for this offense for some reason. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They're going to have to utilize him in a much better way to really emphasize his fantasy ceiling. I know that's not what the team's interested in, but for him to get involved and be productive in this offense, they're going to have to change the way they utilize him. And then Johnny Munt, I know Brenton Strange is on IR now, or he was last week. So Johnny Munt is not a guy that you want to start, even if he's the starting tight end in this offense. He's just not a guy that's ever been productive. And then Blake Corum, unless Kyron Williams goes down, this guy, second round pick or third round pick a couple of years ago, just hasn't really done much. Or last year, he was a rookie. And then Tutu Atwell, he's got back-to-back games of over 75 yards, but it's all been on deep shots. Guys, if you know me, I'll tell you all day, if you're banking on Tutu Atwell to catch a 50-yard bomb for him to give you 5 points, you should not start him. So those are the start sits for this game in London.
Yeah, it's interesting about Travis Hunter a little bit, though, but I'm curious to see what the Jaguars do with him long-term, because I don't know how sustainable it is for your second-round pick to be playing both sides of the football at this level. Yeah. I mean, if you're primarily a defensive player, like they tried it with Devin Hester and they did it with, eventually they moved him to wide receiver special teams full-time, and Dion had some packages where he was in there on offense for the Cowboys. Never a primary, receiver like Travis Hunter is playing all these snaps that'll just wear you out in this league. It's a big-time league, but overall, I agree with your list here in full. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I do think Travis Hunter is I think there's more opportunity for him on offense, and then kind of sub him in on dime packages maybe as your dime corner. But I'm not an offensive coordinator, so we'll see what they do with him. But would much rather like to see him on the offensive side of the ball. But next up, a game that I'm a little excited about. I love the Chicago Bears. The New Orleans Saints, who have been a little bit more competitive in the last few weeks than people would like to admit. They are not a good football team, but they got a dog in them, man. They try to stay in these football games, and that's why I like them as underdogs a lot of the time, but not against the Chicago Bears. I think you're going to Soldier Field in Chicago. I think Chicago beats them by a touchdown. So I'm going to go with Chicago here, but I do love what the Saints have been doing on offense, kind of. Spencer Rattler has been keeping the ball out of the defense's hands, So it's just interesting what they've been doing with Kendre Miller and Alvin Kamara. It's kind of interesting there. But I do like the Bears. They've been very good the past, 3 weeks or so, just getting win after win after win. So I like the Chicago Bears here.
I got to be careful what I say. I picked the Bears to cover the 5.5 here. I don't like the Bears, but they kind of had an emotional win last week. I mean,
yeah,
Commanders fumbling late and then pulling off the field goal was a big turning point for that season.
Yes.
But the
revenge
Saints on
game.
the road, The Saints on the road though are just atrocious. When they kind of kept it close with the Bills, and then when they went to Seattle, that was a complete disaster. However, to their credit, after that disaster in Seattle, giving up 2 punt returns for touchdowns and all that nonsense that went on there, they've been able to kind of regroup. But I don't think that they got enough here in the tank to beat a Chicago team that's going to be feeling themselves. Ben Johnson at home. I don't like dome teams on the road very much. I do like Rattler as a quarterback.
I do too.
You know, if the Saints are smart, what they'll try and do is just give it to Kamara and make the Bears play defense, because that's where their weak point is for this football team. Because when the Bears are on the field offensively, they have an absolute threat to go deep every time. Romo Dunze might actually go ballistic in this game, but I think the Bears beat them hand over by a touchdown. Give me the Chicago Bears in this one.
This might be the first time we've agreed on a Chicago Bears line all season. We're almost halfway through the year. So I will say, I do like the Bears defense a decent amount. I think this might be where Spencer Rattler does make a few mistakes. And that's why you'll see him on the wrong side of the start-sit list. So let's go ahead and talk about the start-sits for this game. So Caleb Williams, top, I want to say 5 quarterback in fantasy right now. Got the rushing upside. He can get you rushing touchdowns, and he's been kind of keeping the ball out of harm's way a lot. I think one of the few interceptions he's had on the year was a pop-up ball where Max Crosby deflected it at the line. So he's been playing great football. He's a little inaccurate. Definitely, he's going to have to get the ball placement under control, but he's got explosive plays here and there, and it's every once in a while you'll just see him make a throw, and it's like, geez, the weeks. So love Caleb Williams versus this depleted Saints team. I mean, their defense is horrible. Romo Dunze, I think, like you said, can go ballistic in this game. I think Romo Dunze is one of the best receivers in the NFL right now. What he can do at his size is freakish. And then DeAndre Swift, he had a great game last week. Great game. Had like a 53-yard catch for a touchdown. Nobody was around him, kind of a busted play. But he also ran the ball decently well, especially in the second half. So I think DeAndre Swift, he can start cooking a little bit. I know he's been dealing with, I want to say, a quad injury or something like that, but it looks like he's fully healthy from that now. I know he sat out Tuesday's walkthrough, but since then he's been pretty involved in practice. And I think DJ Moore can also get involved here. They've been utilizing him as like a change of pace back, but a slot guy as well. DJ Moore, I think he's got the upside. I think he can get 5-6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, maybe a 3-4 carries for 20-30 yards as well. So like what they've been doing with DJ Moore, interesting stuff. And then Chris Olave, I think, is the only guy right now. I like Kamara, and I'll talk about why he's on my sit. But I think Chris Olave is the only guy in this offense that I can really feel good about starting because he just gets the volume. He might not get the yards, but he's going to get the volume. And I want receivers, no matter how poor they've been showing up, if they get 8-9 targets a game at the minimum, I'm going to start them on my fantasy team. So like Olave this week. And then to Spencer Rattler's credit, he's been playing phenomenal ball. I mean, has been playing really smart football. Kind of low risk, low reward type stuff. He does try to hit the deep shot, but it's just never there. But he's been keeping the ball out of harm's way. This Chicago Bears defense is so good at just picking the ball off, getting fumbles, just getting turnovers. I mean, they're one of the best defenses in the NFL at getting takeaways. So I think Spencer Rattler is unfortunately going to be on the wrong end of that this weekend. And next up, Alvin Kamara. Weirdly enough, I like what Kamara has done when he's been on the football field. He's been catching passes. He looks like the same Alvin Kamara as always. But him and Kendre Miller, for some reason, have been splitting a lot more carries than I would like if I have Alvin Kamara in fantasy. I mean, Kendre could be in there for 2 series sometimes without Kamara seeing only the pass game work. So that's a little concerning for me. I think Alvin Kamara is going to be traded at some point. I don't know if it's this year or next year. I know he says he wants to stay there. I know he wants to stay there, but for a franchise that's wanting to rebuild, there's no way you can keep him on the team.
Bobby, they asked him about this, and he said, if Mickey Loomis came downstairs and told me I'm traded, I'm retiring. I'll go get a pina colada. He's not going to get traded. He's got enough tenure and goodwill with that organization to where he can kind of ride it out on his terms. And when a player says something like that publicly, I don't think that there's going to be any market for him. Alvin Kamara is not going anywhere. He's going to be a one-team football player, and it's going to be the New Orleans Saints. I just
Well,
wanted to let you know those were
that's
his words.
really unfortunate for Kamara because I do think he's a very talented back. I wish he would just have went somewhere that was just. I mean, he has been. He wasn't there for the Super Bowl appearance, but he's been competitive in the NFC with Drew Brees back in the day. But that's just tough, man. I wish he would go somewhere. But I get it. If you're committed to a football team, whatever, it's respectable. Next up, Colson Loveland. He just hasn't been involved as much. I know he's been dealing with a hip injury. They say he's fully healthy. I don't know if they've been utilizing him like that because he's only got like 2 or 3 targets on every game. So, and last but not least, Luther Burden. I think Luther Burden in 2 or 3 weeks from now is going to be on the green side of the start-sit list because they just start ticking him up every single week, and he looks phenomenal. I mean, I saw him at Missouri. Dude, his tape was crazy. Now, if you started talking to him a little bit on the football field, he'd just start fighting you. So that's one problem that I hope doesn't pop up at the NFL level. But Luther Burden, as soon as he gets the ball, man, he's just like a ventriloquist, man. He's just, I don't know what he does. He just makes people think, I don't know. He's just ridiculous with the ball in his hands. And he just makes people look stupid. He's hard to tackle. He jukes people out of their shoes. He's just dynamic after the catch. And I think whenever he starts getting going, I think DJ Moore is going to take a back seat and Luther Burden's going to be the go-to guy, one of the go-to guys in this offense. So love Luther Burden here. But yeah, Kamara could be a start with the passing game upside, but he just doesn't get the carries every week, and Kendrick's getting a surprising amount. So I'm staying away from Alvin this week, unless I have to start him.
Luther Burden is eventually going to take over for DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is going to be is a guy that I would actually sit and put Luther Burden in there because he's so explosive. Like we did when we did our NFL previews, I really wanted Luther Burden in a Green Bay Packer uniform badly. He was the wide receiver 1 for me, and he's starting to show it. Dude just gets open. He's an electric football player. I agree with your start sits here. I think Rattler might be worth a start, but obviously Caleb Williams has way more upside as far as fantasy production goes. So, yeah. And DeAndre Swift broke out last week. I mean, you use that term loosely, but had that late reception, for 40-something yards, for a touchdown. Yeah. So, good game. Good stuff.
For sure. I'm excited to watch this. I think that's going to be the one that I have for sure. That's going to be one of the games I have on. But here's another one that's a little bit exciting. The Miami Dolphins.
Oh, hold on. Before you get into that, I was on another show on Tuesday. Etoff Sports, go subscribe to him. And we went over 3 best bets. And I had the Saints on his show. I have to clarify that. But the more that I've looked at it, the more that I think about it, I have to flip on Chicago here. It feels like it could have been a little bit of a letdown spot, but the more I think about it, the more that it would be a Bears pick for me in this one, sadly. So just wanted to clarify that because people be like, hey, you were on his show, you said New Orleans. Yeah, might be kind of more of a stay away spot at a little bit at this point, but I just think
it's a good line. It's a very good line.
It's ideal.
So next up, we have 2 teams that are in some weird spots. I mean, I think Kevin Stefanski, his job is he's not on the hot seat, but he's getting close. And I don't know if there's anybody's seat that's hotter right now than McDaniels for the Dolphins. I mean, he is just, I think he's 1 or 2 losses away from being out of there. But the Miami Dolphins are going on the road to Cleveland, playing the Browns. The Browns are minus 2.5-point favorites. Tua, despite having a couple of solid weeks before last week, showed out. I mean, he just really kind of struggled last week, unfortunately. And Waddle looked good, thank goodness. But yeah, man, I can't have the Dolphins winning any football games until they show me that they're a stable organization. And I think, weirdly enough, the Browns are way more stable as a franchise right now than the Dolphins, and that is really weird coming out of my mouth. I don't think that would ever be a statement that I would say. But I think the Browns, Gabriel, he didn't have the best showcase last week, but, I mean, he's good enough to where he can manage a game, I think. Like I said, I've compared him to Case Keenum a bunch of times. I think that's the kind of quarterback Dylan Gabriel is, like a Case Keenum. So I think that they can go out there with how good their defense is. I think Cleveland wins this game by 5 points, 6 points.
when I saw this matchup on the schedule, um, all I could think was
Yeah.
it's the Great Depression of football. I'm
Yeah.
an Alabama fan. Watching Tua implode like this, and some of the stuff he said in the presser all week has just been absolutely wild. He talks about taking accountability, but at the same time, went out there and called out some teammates, not by name. And then he's got to retract his statements from that and apologize for
That was a
that.
mistake.
And it happens, when we're human beings and we have that kind of error. And
Yeah.
I think that Mike McDaniel's job is way more on the line than Stefanski's. I think
Oh,
the thing
yeah.
with Stefanski is everybody's trying to clown the Browns because Joe Flacco goes out there and lights it up on Steelers on short notice. Well, let's be fair here.
The
He's
Unk
throwing it.
Bowl.
Well, no, he's throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who are not on the Cleveland Browns.
And I like their offensive system a lot more for Joe
Right.
Flacco, right? Because Joe Flacco, he's not the guy that's just sitting back there waiting forever to throw the ball. He tries to get the ball out quick. So
Joe Flacco realized I got an elite wide receiver here. I got two elite
23
wide receivers.
targets.
I think T. Higgins is elite. I'm going to throw the football to either one of those guys, and they're going to make plays. They both score touchdowns. They were able to run the ball on Thursday, and the Browns have everything except I think in this the drafts that they had this year was a really good one. I think next year the Browns are going to have an extra pick, and I think they need to really think about two players. Ty Simpson needs to be a Cleveland Brown, first of all. I mean, this
That's
is where
what you
need
want?
to go.
That's what you want?
Listen to me. I think that him and an explosive receiver, preferably Lemon from USC, but I don't know if he'll fall that far.
Yeah, he's ridiculous, man.
You put those two in Cleveland, they'll have Judkins in his second year, Mason Graham up front, Myles Garrett. I think that Ty Simpson has the brains. He's played in the SEC. He's already faced tough competition, the best competition you can face in college football. And because I don't know, I think they're going to weigh out the season and see what Dylan Gabriel does. And I don't think they're going to. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to. I think he's gone after the year. I really do. They're doing everything. But if I'm the Browns, this is what I'm doing. Now the Jets might pick first overall and take Ty. I think Ty is the first quarterback off the board. I think he's over Mendoza. I think he's over anybody else because of his ability to read a defense, make the checks at the line, do things that a Browns quarterback needs to do. And I think that this is their weakness. So, however, with all that being said, I think the Browns win this football game. I mean, I think Judkins is going to run the football. They're talking about trading Jalen Waddle.
They're talking about trading him? Please no.
He's unfollowed Miami on Instagram. He's followed some Giants players, so that's the hot rumors, him going to New York. And which would substantially help that team because then you've got Neighbors coming back next year, Waddle, Scatterboo, Dart. That defense, Giants might flip their script finally. I think if they get Waddle, who was with Daboll at Alabama, I got to clarify that. To where they're starting to get some continuity there. But we're talking about the Browns. I think Judkins has a great game. I think he goes for 125, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns, I'm calling it. He's going to be the player of the game. I think the Browns win. I think the home crowd is going to kind of get behind them a little bit. I think they're a little bit salty about what Flacco did yesterday, but at the same time, I think that Browns fans can see their roster and how they drafted. So give me the Cleveland Browns. And, it's definitely going to be quite a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a dirty game for sure. But I do think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, I see. I was hitting the wrong button. There we go. So I do think Dylan Gabriel can kind of beat up on this defense a little bit. Now, I do think I would start him over Rattler. I think I would start Gabriel over Rattler. I would start a few people over Gabriel. I mean, he's like, a low-end QB2 for me right now. But I do think he's worth starting for sure. I wouldn't feel terrible about starting him if you need a bye-week quarterback or something like that. And then Quinshon Judkins, I agree with you. I think this Miami defense has got some problems, and I think Quinshon Judkins is really going to show out this game. I mean, he's kind of showed out all year, And I think Judkins is going to be a guy that really starts turning it on halfway through the season, barring injury. So I like what he's been putting on tape. And then Harold Fannin Jr. in their tight end slot. I mean, he's been doing great this year. I'm really excited to see how they continue to utilize him. I know Njoku's been a little bit banged up this year. Harold Fannin Jr. has just been playing amazingly. You just have to – there was a few plays where they're just kind of overthrowing him, and he was one of my favorite players coming out of Bowling Green. I talk about him every week, so I think he's a very cheat codey start. And then Tua, he had a really bad showing last week. He's had a couple of bad showings throughout the first 6 weeks or so. He's had, 2 duds and 3 kind of solid games. I do think he can put together a solid game because I don't know why. It's just Tua, I think, has the upside any given week to give you 25 points. I think
one of his interceptions last week, one thing that I don't like about the interception stat is there has to be a new NFL stat for interceptions that bounce off a receiver's hands. Waddle had one right in his hands, and then it counts as a turnover, and then they have the whole turn the ball over meme. And
Tua turned the ball over, yeah.
But I disagree with Tua on starting him this week, but I'll let you finish out here.
Yeah. And Jalen Waddle, I know he had the drop, right, that caused the pick. But Waddle, I mean, over the past 2 weeks since Tyreek's been out, I mean, he's been like their go-to guy. And I think Jalen Waddle is phenomenal, man. I think he's got a lot of really high-end talent. I don't know how – I have him in a lot of leagues. I don't know how I'd feel with him being traded to another team. Think he'd have some growing pains the first couple of weeks, but like him as a start, I think he's the only other guy outside of Tua that I'd feel comfortable starting. And then for the sits, Jerry Jeudy, man, he's just not been doing anything this year. He's had some bad quarterback play. I get it. And the Browns just haven't really been looking his way because Harold Fannin Jr. is there all the time. But for whatever reason, Jerry Jeudy has just not been getting the targets, regardless of what his tape shows. Haven't watched Jerry Jeudy tape this year to see if it's his fault or not. But Jerry Jeudy just hasn't been getting consistent volume, and until he does, I'm sitting him. Same thing with Isaiah Bond. I like Isaiah Bond a ton, but he's getting 4 or 5 targets a game. It's just you need more targets. I don't like any of the wide receivers for the Browns right now to start, unless you count Harold Fannin Jr. as a wide receiver, which I kind of do. Dylan Sampson, change of pace guy. Judkins is going to have 20-plus carries this game, and Dylan Sampson may have 4 or 5. Malik Washington, he's been getting the targets, but they've all been in these kind of weird screen game kind of things. I know he had like 4 or 5 catches. Yeah, they've had like 4 or 5 catches for 0 yards, I think, a couple weeks ago. He's just a guy, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to just get it going in the screen game, man. And if that's the only thing you're going to utilize him as is like a hitch screen guy, he's not going to give you a lot of upside. And Ollie Gordon, back-to-back weeks with negative points. Weird stuff, but just 1 carry, -1 yard. He just hasn't really been getting the carries because Achan's been pretty solid for him over the past few weeks. So I do expect
Miami's offense to similar to what Texas does, and that's why it frustrates you because you're doing all this weird, wonky stuff, and I'm not a fan of a whole lot of stuff behind line of scrimmage. I'm not. Especially screen passes to wide receivers. It absolutely infuriates me. I remember
it's a low-risk play that should get you 4 or 5 yards, but sometimes it just blows up in your face. And for whatever reason,
it's calling it at the worst times. There was an offensive coordinator for the Bears years ago. His name was John Shoup, and he was for Lovie Smith. I believe he was under Lovie Smith and would run screen after screen. A screen's got to be a play where that they're bringing the pass rush, and it needs to be halfback screens. In my opinion, I like those a lot more than
the slip screens.
Yeah, anything with the tight end, anything inside, I like that a little bit more than opposed to throwing it 20 yards to the sideline. And then because if you miss a block, you risk a light pass for a pick 6, or you just don't gain anything and you lose 5 yards. I don't like that. I just personally, I'm not a fan of the quick screen game horizontal. I want everything to be going this way, or in the corners, or in the flats, but just not a screen pass in the flat. That needs to be the check down areas. My take on that. And with the starting sits, I wouldn't start Tua against his defense. I actually would sit him and find another quarterback in there. When we talk about Jerry Jeudy, I think that it is a volume issue because when Jameis Winston was there, Judy lit it up. Lit it up. He ended up being like wide receiver 4 or 5 once Jameis went in there. And it just shows that the Browns need a quarterback. They got picks in this draft. I'm telling you, if it's me personally, I'm going to get Ty Simpson as they say in the draft day movie, no matter what. I'm getting him. I'm getting a guy that's intelligent. I'm gonna throw him to the wolves. I'm gonna say, you've got all these skill players around you. They're young, they're hungry, they've got a year of experience, they can help you get there. I've seen what you're doing in your first year starting in Alabama. Now let's turn it up a notch. And I think he's got the mental wherewithal to be an elite leader for that football team. A great quarterback will take the Browns deep. They can make an AFC championship with that roster. They're just goof trooping it with the quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see how Gabriel does in the next few weeks, but I mean, he's been decent in one start and then kind of game managery in the second start. So I'm curious to see how he does in the coming weeks. But next up, a team that's on a roll in the Patriots and a team that is on the opposite of a roll in the Tennessee Titans. New England Patriots are minus 7.5-point favorites. I normally really dislike having big lines like this over a touchdown for the NFL, but the Titans, they just fired their coach. Maybe that lights a fire under the team. I'm not sure. I know they fired their O-line coach immediately as well once they appointed the interim coach. I just like the Patriots. I've loved what they're doing on defense. Drake May is looking phenomenal. Yeah, man, I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I don't like lines that are this, far one way, but I think the Patriots are just this much better than the Titans. The Titans really just don't have a lot to work with on any position really outside of maybe Ridley and Cam Ward. I mean, they just don't have anything to work with. I like Elick too, but there's just not much talent here.
So I knew that was going to be what you said. I knew it in my heart. And not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. Who have the New England Patriots really, really played to win? Now, they do have their win against Buffalo. But other than that, that Steelers game, they absolutely coughed it up. I don't think that they've got enough talent to have it all put together. Their wide receivers are still real questionable. I know Diggs. He's kind of regressed, though, since that Bills game. He showed up and he's kind of shriveled up a little bit. Now, statistically, when a team fires a coach, they immediately rally around the interim. It's just the nature of football, because I think things that I had been seeing about the Titans in this situation were it was abysmal with him gone.
Yeah.
It was abysmal. And the offensive line coach that you're talking about was his brother. So, of course, they were both shown the door. I think this is a little bit of a rebirth here in Tennessee. I think you're going to see some things with Cam Ward that we haven't seen before. Patriots, in my opinion, aren't world beaters, and I'm not going to let it roll over. 7.5-point home dog. I'm going to take those points all day long. I think we're going to see a decent Ridley is out, so that does hurt them. But I do think that, they can get stuff with Elick, and I think that they can get things going with the running game. I think that it'll be closer than people expect it to be. I think the Titans might come out of that first drive and punch them in the mouth, take a quick 7-0 lead. It's something I learned about watching football from a friend of mine. I'll never forget this. A friend of mine from Alabama used to live out this way. And he came over here to the house, and we were watching Alabama A&M. And the game was at Aggie Field, and Texas A&M was off a bye, right? And Texas A&M goes right down the field and scores touchdown right away. And he looks me straight in the face. I kind of looked over at him because I was amazed that happened. I was amazed that they did that. And he goes, they had 2 weeks to they had all week to prepare for this. Now let's see what they're made of. So ever since he's kind of taught me that, because he was a quarterback in high school, and he taught me that about watching football a little differently, I always throw those first drives away. And it's funny because
all the scripts, right? You've got the game scripts that are you got 20 play scripts, and then after that, what's going on,
And I think that a lot of people overreact. And a great example in it was, Missouri and Alabama. It was the same story. Missouri on the first drive goes right down the field. They got their secondary in shambles, scores, and it's going crazy, in Columbia. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I've seen this movie before. But I think the Titans might get that out there, but I just don't think that the Patriots are going to cover that line.
Yeah, I'm curious to see when Restrepo may get called up from the practice squad. With Ridley out, I'm just curious because I liked Restrepo, what he put on film. He was not explosive whatsoever. I'm talking about Xavier Restrepo from Miami. And speaking of Miami, Carson Beck just threw his third pick of the game. Looks like they're going to be losing that football game to Louisville.
That's number 2, Miami, folks. Yep. The U will be this.
Yeah. They're finally getting their loss in, man. I was wondering who was going to give it to them because, they always kind of tend to follow. I mean, they did it last year. They ended up falling apart, losing to Syracuse and a few other
and this
games.
Game's in Miami. It's at Hard Rock. Not good look. Miller Moss down there for the Louisville Cardinals.
Yeah. So for the start sits for this game, Drake May's playing phenomenal. I mean, I think he's the QB 3 or 4 right now. He's just been doing great football all around. Keep putting Travion Henderson on this start slide, and I'm going to keep doing it until I'm right, man. I think he's going to have an explosive game sooner or later. It's like you and Ryan Williams. You're like, this is his game where he's going to pop off. I have the same kind of belief in Travion Henderson. At some point, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson averaged 1.8 yards a carry last game. What does it take to put Travion Henderson in there?
It's Vrabel. Listen, it is absolutely Vrabel doing this, and I think it's because he's a new coach here in New England. He's not a new coach to the NFL.
Yeah,
and
successful coach.
He's a good coach, but I think that, when it comes to Ramondre Stevenson specifically, they signed him to that extension, and GMs don't like to look foolish. That's why they kept playing Najee Harris. They kept playing him in Pittsburgh because he was on that rookie deal. They don't want their first-round pick on the bench. Ramondre just got more money, and he didn't sign like a 2-year extension. He signed a 4-year deal. Now, I don't know why they drafted Travion so high, but I think that there was a clip that I saw of Travion Henderson in Pass Pro.
Yeah, so I can explain that a little bit. So I know exactly the Pass Pro that he's
blocking
doing.
Air like Madden. He's just
so the problem with what they're doing there is they're having him, protect a certain area. And there was nobody rushing him, and then Drake May started running, and they're making pass protection. I don't know who the O-line coach is, or I don't know who's teaching pass blocking to Travion Henderson, but I've seen Travion Henderson, and if you just let him do his thing, he's one of the best pass protectors I've ever seen, and I've been watching tape religiously for a long time. He's one of the best pass protectors I've ever seen in my life. He can hurt people. I mean, he hurts linebackers in pass protection. He will pancake you. They are making it way. I don't know if it's too complicated or they're like, you're going to read A, you're going to read B, and then you're going to go to the C. And you're just going to sit there and you're going to go back and forth between them. And that's what he was doing. And there was no rush that came in. And then a guy came in from not his assignment and ended up getting the sack. So it's not a good look, because nothing was there. He's not blocking anybody, but he was doing what his job was supposed to be. So I didn't like how that was posted all over Twitter, because people that are talking about it and saying, oh, he's blocking air. Yes, but he's also doing exactly what the offensive coordinator is telling him to do. So if they didn't make it like that and they're just like, hey, you're going to read your assignment and then look around and block whoever comes through, that's kind of normal. Let him do that. But they're kind of making it a little bit too complicated, I think, and they're making Travion think a little bit too much. So that's why I think that happened. But moving on from Travion, I think he can have an explosive game. I don't know when they're going to tell Ramondre to take the back seat, but at some point they're going to have to. Next up, Stephon Diggs. He regressed a little bit. He was coming off back-to-back 100-yard games. Then this past week, he only had 3 catches for, I think, 30 yards or so. So a little bit of a regress. But you're playing against the Titans. I think Stephon Diggs can have a big day. Calvin Ridley out. So you're going to switch Calvin Ridley with Elic Ayomanor. I think Elic Ayomanor is the go-to number 1 target now. I liked him at Stanford. You liked him at Stanford. I think he's very talented, and I thought he needed some time to develop, and they've just thrown him into the starting role immediately, and he's done decently well. So like Elic Ayomanor as a start. And then Tony Pollard. I think this game might get a little grindy. a little dirty, and I think Tony Pollard's the only guy really that can run the rock for this team. Tajay had a few carries, but I don't know if he's fully healthy right now. He's still looking a little rusty. So for now, I think Tony Pollard's safe 15 carries at the minimum this game. And then for the sits, Cam Ward, I hate to say it, but I think his best game and 6-point passing touchdown league is 12 points. And that is just anything under 15 points for a quarterback is really subpar. He's had nothing but bad games. And the Patriots defense is not a slouch team. So I think he's going to struggle again, and he's going to have a really bad rookie year, and people are going to be looking at him like they looked at Bryce Young his rookie year, and then we just have to hope Cam Ward bounces back from that, right? Because people got a little spoiled last year with the rookie class. There was a ton of quarterbacks that just fell into great situations and produced immediately. Plus, that quarterback class last year was off the charts good. Cam Ward is also good, but in probably the worst situation of any quarterback that's came out in the past 3-4 years. So he's just going to need some time to develop, I think. Then Chig Okonkwo, if you have him as your tight end one, I would be really worried about it because he's just not getting the targets. I mean, this offense is just so piss poor right now. You can't start him in good faith right now. And then Pop Douglas, man, he could have had like 180 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. They got the other 60-yard touchdown called back, but Pop Douglas did have like a 60, 70-yard touchdown. He just hasn't done anything this year outside of last week. He's a bait. Stay away from him. And then I think Boutte might be a guy that just is an 8.10. He's very similar to how I feel about Khalil Shakir. I think there's better, more higher upside guys out there. They haven't really been using Boutte down the field as much as I'd like. So going to sit him for now. I hate that because, dude, I was all for Boutte the first 3-4 weeks of the season. He just kind of
that Boutte.
Dude, he just hasn't really been doing it for me the past few weeks. So, yeah, outside of Calvin Ridley and Elikeo Man are switching. That's what I got for this game.
When it comes to this game, forget about it. This is I think it's just I just don't like any of the players to start here. I can see why people would want to start Drake May, but other than that,
he's great.
I would sit all these guys and find better options. And I've got Cam Ward shares in my rebuilds.
Yeah, I think he's a great guy to buy right now because people are like, he's literally the worst quarterback if you just look at it from a stat standpoint. But I mean, he's making throws every week where I'm like, okay, there's something here, but he just doesn't have the offensive scheme is terrible. Everything's terrible about this team right now. But so I have to give my parlays every week for some of my work buddies. One of the legs of this parlay is the Raiders covering because last year we played them, and I want to say the line was very similar to this, -12.5, something like that. And we ended up winning that game off of a blocked field goal. So I think this game is close because that was with AOC under center. I don't like Geno, but I think Geno is better than AOC. I think this team is slightly better than it was last year. But I think the Raiders do cover here plus 12.5, even though they're going on the road for the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, regardless of what the record says, they have been playing really good football on offense. I'm very proud of them from what they've done compared to last year. I was sick of the offense last year. This year, they've really been turning it up, really being creative in offense. They just, haven't been getting the wins. But I think they do win. I think they win by maybe 6 points, not 13.
I disagree. I think the Chiefs cover and beat their ass. It's that simple.
Yeah, that could definitely happen too.
They're in Arrowhead. The Raiders are in disarray, hands down.
Geno's
Chiefs
really bad.
cover. Mahomes is going to have a game. I think that with Rashee Rice is going to have 10 catches, 110, and a tutty. Hollywood Brown's going to score a touchdown. I mean, I think that Mahomes is going to really be taking the driver's seat here with this football team. And I don't think the Raiders are worth a lick. I think that the line's really, really good. I think the Chiefs win by 2 touchdowns. Give me Kansas City. Whatever it is they do there.
Hey, I'm a big Chiefs fan, and I would love nothing more than for the Chiefs to put a 50 bomb on them and make the Raiders the laughing stock because they love to just trash talk the Chiefs, man. The Raiders fans, they are relentless. They are relentless with the
Well,
Chiefs
wouldn't you be
receiving game.
relentless if your team stunk for the last 20 seasons? I mean, look, they've
Hey,
got
I
Max
get it.
Crosby, but their quarterback is not good. Their rushing game is there, but Jacoby Meyer wants to get traded. Brock Bowers is hobbling around. Kansas
Yeah.
City is going to put
They're
the
firing on all
ball to sleep.
cylinders, man. Their
It's
defense is good. Their offense is I mean, the Chiefs offense is playing great football. So yeah, I can definitely see them. And just from a betting standpoint, I just can't just from what I saw from the team last year from both
yeah.
teams, I can't really say anytime there's a 10 plus line, I'm usually staying with the underdog. So but for the starts, Patrick Mahomes, he's the QB1 on the season for fantasy. Has more rushing touchdowns than Josh Allen, notably. That's crazy to say. But Patrick Mahomes been playing phenomenal football. You have to start him. Rashee Rice, I mean, he's coming back, although I think he might be a little rusty because he hasn't played a live game. I mean, man, what a great game to come back to. Versus the Raiders, who's not the best defense. I think Rashee Rice is going to have a decent game. I don't know if he has a phenomenal game, but I think it's good enough to where he can get you 12 to 15 points. And then Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce, he's starting to get more and more involved in this offense. The mistakes have been cleaned up with the penalties. I don't think they had barely any penalties last week. So I think if they continue to clean that up, Travis Kelce, has been looking really good and still kind of like one of the main options in this offense. I think this is good. Ashton Genty, I think he's going to have a decent game. He's been doing great for the past 3 weeks. And yes, the Chiefs defense is good, but I do think Ashton Genty is still good enough to give you a decent performance. And then last but not least, I think Brock Bowers has been downgraded to doubtful again. So I fully expected him at the time of me making these graphics. Brock Bowers is going to be playing. I mean, it was like, there's no way. So instead of Brock Bowers here, I would probably put a Xavier Worthy, maybe a Hollywood Brown, one of the Chiefs receivers, because I do not like any of the other options for the Raiders. I mean, at all. And for the sits, Geno Smith, you cannot start him in good faith anymore. I mean, he's just had too many duds this year. You just can't keep the ball out of the defense's hands. And the Kansas City hasn't really done the best in terms of getting the ball, takeaways and things like that. They just make you punt over and over or give you field goals. Ben don't break type of defense, but Geno Smith, he's going to find a way to throw 2 interceptions in this game. I mean, that's what he does. Trey Tucker, he's had a big game. I think he's the wide receiver 9 right now because of that big 45-point week. Still, stay away from him. He had a decent game last week, but stay away from him. He's way too hit or miss. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, we have no idea what this split continues to look like any given week. Pacheco could get 15 carries and Kareem Hunt 5. It seems like Pacheco is the lead guy, but Kareem Hunt's been getting a little bit more carries than I would like if I was a Pacheco owner. So I'm staying away from both of those guys for now. And then last but not least, Noah Gray. I think Noah Gray is a great hold right now in Dynasty. I think he's a guy that you should go out and pay for because, well, guess what happens when Travis Kelce retires? I don't think there's a really standout, maybe Stowers from Vanderbilt, maybe the Oregon guy, Sadiq, for tight ends next year. I don't think the Chiefs, they have a lot of holes to fill, and I don't think tight end's one of them. I think Noah Gray is a great player, but he just doesn't have a role right now until Kelce's gone.
Yeah, I think that this is, like I said, I don't even want to start Brock Bowers. I wouldn't even be comfortable starting Genty in this game. No Raiders players are getting on the field. I think it's 40-14 Kansas City wins. I think this is a collapse. I think that they're really going to start looking around at quarterback here.
Yeah.
I think Jacoby Myers might be dealt before this game. They're doing a full rebuild there. Whether they want to do it or not, I mean, the Raiders have to make a change at quarterback if Geno doesn't return to his Seattle form. So brutal.
And even last year, Geno wasn't that great. I mean, he had almost as many interceptions as he had touchdowns. I mean, he was not great. Now, the year before that, and the year before that, he was decent. But, Geno has been just had a bad case of the turnovers. I don't know if they got and get a Kirk Cousins or or something like that. I don't know who they'd try to go grab, but they're going to need to get somebody if they're going to stay competitive. Because, I mean, there was a week there where the Raiders looked like they were on the up and up, but lately it's just been turnover after turnover. Eventually you're going to have to make a change, I think. But next up we have a game that's a little bit interesting. We've got the Eagles going on the road to play Carson Wentz, who's starting yet again for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know if JJ's that hurt or they're like, man, this kid needs some more time. I don't know what the decision is there, but Philadelphia is minus 1.5 point favorites. And if Carson Wentz is starting, I mean, I got to go with the Eagles here. I mean, I have to. They have just more talent all over the place. And I like Justin Jefferson. Jordan Mason's cool, but like overall, man, you got to go with the Eagles here in terms of talent. Yeah, it's on the road, but yeah, I'm going with the Eagles pretty easily here.
I'm going to turn that upside down and call the Vikings outright winners. Carson Wentz, his little revenge spot. Philadelphia is coming apart at the seams. I mean, you got A.J. Brown that's acting crazy. Devontae Smith, neither one of these guys are happy in the offense. Saquon Barkley has been bottled up. The team has been figured out. Jalen Hurts, they got to make him throw the football. I don't know what Sirianni's doing with this football team, but I'm starting to see them trend downward. Yep. I think Philadelphia is in a spot where their grip on the NFC East is going to start to slip a little bit because this will be back-to-back losses. They're coming off the extra rest from playing that Giants game where they looked abysmal. Now, they have an opportunity to correct that, and you know how I feel about teams that come off an embarrassing loss. They usually come back the next week on all cylinders firing. But I think the Vikings are going to be the team that does that at home. That's a tough place to play football, even though it's indoors, and football indoors is for cowards. I don't care, unless you live in Arizona because it gets too hot for the human body. But other than that, I'm not down for it. I'm going to take Minnesota. I think that they're going to have Justin Jefferson's going to have himself a game. I think Wentz is comfortable with this team. Yeah, I mean, he's proven that he's, a guy that could be a placeholder. But if the game was in Philadelphia, I might feel a little bit differently about it. But it feels like the Eagles, they're just feeling a little downtrodden. Even though you put this on paper and the roster is absolutely overwhelmingly in Philadelphia's favor. But when we're in week 7 and you don't have these kinks worked out of your game, you're kind of starting to show who you really are. I think Minnesota wins the game outright. This is a money line play for me.
Okay, so we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum here for sure. But I will kind of go over my starts and sits here.
Vikings QB.
Yes.
I love it.
I got another one here in a little bit you'll probably enjoy. But Jalen Hurts, I think, with the rushing touchdown upside on every single play, he's been hit or miss as a passer for sure. But, yeah, man, I think you got to start him as your QB1. If you have him, you're going to start him versus this defense. Saquon, I think he'll finally have a decent game versus this defense. The defense is decent, but they have been a little bit, they've had a little bit of a problem with the run, and I think Barkley's finally going to get something on the ground. And then A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown can get something going, maybe 5 for 80 and a touchdown, something like that. Nothing crazy, but I think he will give you something. Jordan Mason, he's going to get pretty much all the volume, so you got to start him. Running backs that get heavy volume, you just have to start. It is what it is, regardless of what you think. I think Jordan Mason's a good player, not an elite talent, but if you're getting volume, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to start him. And Justin Jefferson, I completely agree with you. This defense, the secondary, man, has really been having issues staying healthy, and they've just been getting cooked, man. They've been getting cooked. So Justin Jefferson, I think, is going to have a big game. I absolutely hope so because in my main Dynasty league, I got Barkley and Jefferson going. So I'm going to be watching this game pretty closely. And then Vikings quarterback, whether it's JJ or Carson Wentz, at the time we had no idea. It's Carson Wentz. I feel a little bit better if it's Carson Wentz than JJ McCarthy. I was a big JJ McCarthy guy going into the season, but he's been very up and down when he gets starts, and he's gotten hurt again. So that's a really bad sign already. But I don't know if I would be too happy to start Carson Wentz right now. He's been fine in some games and not fine in others. So would like somebody that's a little bit more consistent at the quarterback position. And then TJ Hawkinson, dude just hasn't been getting involved as much as people were hoping. I I think he's probably, I don't know what his contract looks like. I think he might be a free agent this year. If not, I mean, he's going to need to get out of there before he's fantasy relevant. And then any other Eagles running back, stay away from. A.J. Dillon, I know, gets some carries here and there. Stay away from him. He is bait. And Jahan Dotson, I think he's a guy that's getting 1 or 2 catches, maybe big catches a game. Stay away from him. It's kind of obvious who you're going to start and sit from this game. I think Devonta Smith is an okay flex option. I wouldn't feel good about it, though.
I wouldn't start A.J. Brown. Just wouldn't. You got to have a game. Like, you got to have a game, dude. Until he doesn't, and it's not his fault, I'm not starting A.J. Brown, but the rest of the stuff I can agree with.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's get on to the next one. We've got 2 teams who I would have thought at this point in the year would have different outlooks. Going into the season, thought the Jets might have a few wins. I was a little excited about the Jets, man. We didn't think they were going to be a playoff team or anything, but I thought they would do better than what they did last year. And the Panthers, I thought they weren't going to be that great this year. And, well, they just keep finding ways to win here and there. And the Jets, they have not picked up their first win yet, right?
No. Nope.
They're still winless.
Yep.
Justin Fields had 60 yards passing last week, something like that. They had negative 2 yards of total offense or something. That's insane. I mean, that just can't happen. But I do think Carolina going on the road, I think this is a perfect line. I got to stick with the team that's proving that they can win. And the Jets, I mean, they could legitimately win 2 games this year with how bad that they've been playing. Garrett Wilson's looking like he's not going to play. So, yeah, I mean, you got to go with the Panthers here with how close this line is.
Bryce Young resurgence. I mean, this is kind of nice to see. I do think that Rico Dowdle's going to just destroy this team. Feels like the Jets already have quit.
They got Chuba back too.
I think the Jets have quit on Aaron Glenn. When I saw that game in London right before the half when they had their fake punt, and then the play calling thereafter was absolutely atrocious. And then when they panned the camera on Garrett Wilson getting in Aaron Glenn's face, and Aaron Glenn was looking at him like, I'm the coach. This is how it's going to be. You can't have this kind of turmoil in your locker room in your first season without a win.
Especially with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's not a type of receiver that's, doing that. He's not like a Antonio Brown or like a George Pickens or something like that.
I think the Jets are going to move off. They're going to move off of Breece Hall, I think. I think they're going to move off him.
At this point, you have to.
I think they're going to try and get some draft capital and do what they always do in New York, but they don't have a quarterback. I think Fernando Mendoza might end up in New York next year.
That would be cool.
It's either going to be that or that kid out of Oregon. His name escapes me at the moment.
Dante Moore?
Yeah, Dante Moore. I think that's what's going to happen with the Jets here, but I do feel that the Panthers turned a corner. Just give the ball to Dowdle, get it to Tet. I think Tet's way better than Sauce Gardner can be at covering him. I think Tet could cook this team.
So I'll talk about that matchup in a minute, but I think that's a really interesting matchup.
And I think that, with Dowdle and Hubbard back there, Bryce Young can actually trust his running game now.
Yeah.
And with that being said, they do have maybe Xavier Legette might get something going here. They might start to believe in themselves a little bit and believe in Canales and believe in what's going on. And the NFC South is open. It's open. I mean, Atlanta seems to be the front runner here, but Tampa Bay.
He dropped off. Well, while he's reconnecting, I do think he was talking about the old-fashioned. Look at that, super quick. Welcome back, my friend.
Okay, had to get that fixed. I don't know what just happened there. But I think that they heard Xavier Legette, and they must have thought that he was going to eat some raccoon and tie up the internet lines. But nonetheless, I do think that that the Panthers win this game, puts them back where they need to be. They got some amazing things starting to go over there, and the NFC South is the most fun division in the NFL. And I'm a Packer fan, obviously, and that's what I –
Give me 1 second. You keep talking.
And I'm just saying that the Jets really have packed it in. Aaron Glenn needs to be a coach that can teach football. The Jets seem to just hire the worst coaches, regardless if it's Robert Saleh or Adam Gase or anybody, this and that. They just constantly seem to fool us up, and it's just really unfortunate for the fans of New York. They had a bunch of talent there. They had Aaron Rodgers there. They couldn't get that straight. I mean, he unfortunately had that Achilles injury. And they've just got a bunch of players, but they just don't have any leadership there. I don't know if that's a Woody Johnson issue. I don't know what it is that's going on in New York to keep this team from competing. But it's been amazing. Like my entire life, I'm in my late 40s. I've seen the Jets in the playoffs only a handful of times. Back to back AFC championship runs with Mark Sanchez, who looks like he's going to get might be in the penitentiary. No, I don't want to say that. It's not that serious, but nonetheless, the Jets just haven't had a whole lot of anything positive going their way, and I just don't see it trending upward until further notice.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But let's go ahead and get in to the start sits, man. I think Bryce Young is pretty safe to start as a QB2 right now. I mean, he's just been fairly consistent. I mean, he's had a couple of duds early on in the year, but he's starting to catch his stride a little bit like he did last year. So impressed with what he's been doing. I mean, he's a smaller quarterback, so that kind of limits his ceiling in some play concepts. But I like Bryce Young. I think he's a baller. Next up, Ted McMillan. I'm glad you brought up the Sauce Gardner deal because Sauce Gardner is a big corner. He's a big, tall corner that likes to put his hands on you. Well, Tet, although he's not the fastest quarterback, fastest wide receiver by no means. He likes to put his hands on you too. And I think Sauce Gardner is going to get multiple really bad pass interference calls. And Ted McMillan's going to have him basically bullied because Ted McMillan is 6'4", 220. I mean, he's a big boy. So I think Ted McMillan's going to have a decent day, and he's going to be throwing Sauce Gardner all over the field because Sauce Gardner, he likes to bully on those smaller receivers. Yeah, I'm going to start Ted McMillan. Justin Fields, he's had some big time games this year. Last week was terrible. I think he got 7 points. So I'm still going to start him just because of the rushing upside. When I watch Justin Fields, he makes me want to puke, man. He is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. He is bad. He is so bad. I was a believer. Also, I want to just say this. The Miami-Louisville game just ended. Carson Beck just threw his 4th pick. They were in field goal range, and he threw his 4th pick on an out route, and that game is over because they could have sent it to overtime. That is horrible. Carson Beck had such a great start to the year, and then he has just turned into 2024 Georgia Carson Beck out of nowhere. So they basically just screwed that game up completely. Well, run the ball! Like, what are we doing? Just run the – why are we throwing?
That's a coaching error, then. That's a coaching error. If you're calling pass plays –
did get tipped a little bit at the line, but it's like –
that don't matter. Don't call a pass play. Like, don't do it.
That can happen.
Oh, stupid is as stupid does, man. It's kind of what they. I mean, this is a real thing. Pressure. What are you gonna do? Game's on the line, and you choke.
So, I thought Garrett Wilson might play this game. It is looking like he's not going to play. I'm sure he could play if he wanted to, but with how bad this team's been going, I think it's probably. Instead of Garrett Wilson, you go with Mason Taylor, I guess is the other option you'd want there. And I do think Breece Hall can get involved as well. Now for the sit list, Adam Thielen, I'm staying away from him for now, even though he is not a Panther. He is a Viking now, isn't he? That's wrong. Adam Thielen, he is a Viking.
Yeah, he's in Minnesota.
Oops. So for some reason, I keep thinking he is a Panther. But stay away from Coker this game. Stay away from Leggett this game. And stay away from Chuba. Chuba has been decent. Well, better than decent, especially last year. Man, dude. Chuba had his job basically taken from him, I think. I think he'll be involved, but, I mean, you can't. If you're the Carolina Panthers, you can't just be like, all right, well, Chuba's back. Thanks for your service, Rico. We're just going to let Chuba be the workhorse again. I guarantee you that's not happening. With how great Rico's been playing, they're going to split this backfield, and I think Chuba gets the lesser amount of carries this week. So I'm going to stay away from Chuba for now, unfortunately. I like what he brings to the table. Josh Reynolds and Isaiah Davis, just not consistent options either. So staying away from those Jets. I think Justin Fields and Breece Hall are like the only people that I would feel comfortable with.
The Jets are a mess, man. I mean, when it comes to starting, though, I think I might start Rico Dowdle. I think he's going to get a bulk of the carries.
I didn't put him on here because I was worried about the split. Because Chuba Hubbard's a great back in his own right. So are they just going to keep both backs fresh and just kind of give each guy 10, 12 carries? If that's the case, I don't want anything to do with Rico Dowdle.
Well, they said today that they've made a decision on who the back is going to be that's going to get a bulk of the carries, but they never said who it was going to be.
It's going to be a split backfield. I'm pretty sure.
I think Rico gets 2 out of 3. So give me Dowdle. But Isaiah Davis, I cut him in one of my leagues. I don't trust anybody on the Jets offense. I don't trust Justin Fields. I don't trust Breece Hall. I just don't trust what the culture is there. So I agree with your really 2 starts on Carolina, but I'm also adding Rico Dowdle in there.
So real quick, earlier you were talking about how Ramondre got paid and, Trayvon's getting paid like a second-round pick. They're paying Rico Dowdle basically nothing to play football for them. And Chuba Hubbard got a pretty big extension last year. So
I think that in this game, I don't think Chuba's fully ready to go.
Yeah,
so in this game, I think Dowdle's going to get 2/3 of the carries. And then you go from there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to give him a lot of carries just because of how well he's been doing. I mean, 200 carries back to back. But now we get to talk about Cut for a minute. One of our sponsor of the show. Use code COVER2CASH. But what is Cut? If you guys have been watching the show long enough, you guys know what Cut is. But it is a social betting platform, something that I use strictly for sports betting right now because I'm in Mississippi and sports betting is illegal on your mobile device unless you are in a casino, stupidly enough. We should have that fixed at some point. But Cut's really cool. You can place bets with other people on the platform, peer-to-peer betting. You can bet on whatever you want. There's lines for literally any sport, anything that you could possibly bet on. You can do pop culture stuff, politics, things like that. Anything that you can think of, there's probably a bet out there for it. You want to go follow Cut on X. They have all sorts of crazy stuff that they're posting on their X. Very funny stuff and also just cool stuff. They just added blackjack to Cut a few weeks ago as well. So like that as well. So very cool app. You should definitely download it if you are into peer-to-peer betting, which is what I've been doing for sports betting.
And the best thing about peer-to-peer betting is there's lower vig. So you're not paying minus 115 on a line or minus 120 on a line that you're really confident.
It's only a 3% charge. They're doing 3%. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's legal in all but 5 states in the United States. Bobby, you should go run for office over there in Mississippi and up there. Just
actually, I ran into a senator. Into a senator last Thursday at my local watering hole, and we talked about it for about an hour and a half.
A state senator or
yes. I don't know why he was there, but
without disclosing, what did he say?
He basically said that they're trying to get it, but it's kind of hard when a bunch of people that are supporting, casinos and things like that, they don't want it on their sports fund because why would they? That takes business away from the casino. So that's basically what he told me, right? It's very simple, on the nose stuff. But he said that things should be looking up. They can't delay it forever. I mean, you just can't.
Well, in Arizona, everything about that stuff is legal. You can buy marijuana here. You can sports bet on a sports app. You can go to the casino. But the casinos out here are a little different because there are reservations out here, so all the casinos are on Indian land.
Oh, cool stuff. Heck yeah. So we'll keep on moving all along. Hour and 30 in. This is one of my favorite games of the week, man. The Giants, I think this is so crazy because if you watched the Giants last year, they were a dumpster fire. Outside of Malik Neighbors making a cool catch or two every single week. Yeah, man. I'm going to be honest. The Giants are must-see football. They got Jackson Dart out there. If what you said about Waddle could happen, that's going to make this even better. Malik Neighbors comes back next year. He's out for the season, but Scattaboo, I'll be dropping a film breakdown. That'll be out Monday. A film breakdown on Cam Scattaboo.
Here's Scattaboo. I run football. I run hard. God bless
football.
God bless him.
He is a specimen of a human. He's just a guy that likes to run hard, man. I'm glad that he's wearing number 44 in honor of old John Riggins, man. Run very similar. So Giants are must-see football. They're going on the road, though, to play a very competent team. They love sacking the quarterback. And Jackson Dart, he's had a little bit of troubles. He runs outside of the pocket a little too much. And I think the Broncos are going to make him pay. Nick Benito is leading the league in sacks right now by a good margin. I think he has 10 sacks right now. And we're 7 weeks into the season. So he's on pace for 20 sacks. I do think the Giants cover, though. I don't know if they win the game, but I do think they can make it close because Bo Nix and this offense hasn't been the best this year compared to what it was last year. In the D-line for the Giants, they're finally starting to live up to the talent that's actually there in terms of the name value. They've been really turning it up the past few weeks. I think the Broncos may win, but they win by a narrow margin. I don't think they win by a touchdown. So I'm going to go with the Giants underdog on the road.
I think the line's moved to 7.5.
It's even better.
But what I think here is you got a team coming back from London that played like doo-doo.
Yeah.
And the Giants got that little bit of extra time off. I'm going to take the Giants to potentially win this game outright. I'll take points on them all day long. It's
absolutely.
Make them stop
they can run it down your throat too.
Make them make them stop the run. I think that defensively, Pat Surtain will absolutely shut down Wan'Dale Robinson. Other than that, the matchup's kind of favorable for Denver defensively as far as Nick Benito getting in the backfield. He might be close. I don't think that Denver smokes them if they do win. I think that within 7 points is within reason here. Maybe to cover because Denver might put it on them. This is a really closer game than people think, but with that lagging and Bo Nix not being able to really put together a great game yet, Giants and the points.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. But let's go ahead and start with the starts and the sits. I think Cam Scattaboo is a must start. At this point, Tyrone Tracy came back from injury and his snap percentage went up from the previous week. He is the workhorse here because not only can he run the ball down your throat and he's going to make your defense hate him for 4 quarters. You can stop him all you want, but he's going to hurt you every single time you stop him. And he's going to do that for 4 quarters. And you can give him 30 carries, you can give him 40 carries. He's just going to keep going. And he can also catch the ball out of the backfield. This guy is a stud. I'm so excited to watch him run versus the Broncos. So I do think Scattaboo is a must start. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, although Pat Surtain will be on him, they utilize Wan'Dale on a lot of screen situations, short yardage situations where I do think he'll get a lot of volume, maybe not a ton of yards, not a touchdown or anything like that. I know that Pat Surtain does have a tendency to get flat-footed on these deeper routes from time to time, but I think Wan'Dale Robinson could have a big catch and then a bunch of short game work. So I do think Wan'Dale is 10, 12 point type of guy. I think Bo Nix is a good start. I think he can put together a decent game. He's got to figure out the turnovers, man. He's always, every single week, he's got a throw where I'm like, what are you doing, man? He did that all over I did a film breakdown on him as well. And just there was throws like that all over his tape where I'm like, bro, you cannot be throwing that. And he's still doing that. So he's going to have to tone that down, but I do think with the rushing upside, he can have a decent game. JK, he's coming off the worst game of the season for him. I think he'll bounce back, although I think this defensive front is good, and Thibodeau is really coming into his own as a run stuffer. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to have a touchdown, maybe 3 yards a carry, but he gets the volume. And then Cortland Sutton, I thought he was like their deep threat. That was what they were going to use him as, the field stretcher. They're using him all over the place, man. I think he can get 6, 7 catches. I was playing against him, of course. So, of course, he had to get, 12 catches or whatever he ended up getting. So I think Cortland Sutton's in store for a solid game. And then Jackson Dart, I think the way he plays football is not going to match up well against against the Broncos defense. And I think I would be sitting him. He's been playing great football over the past couple of weeks, but I need to see what he does against an elite defense. I think it's safe to call the Broncos defense elite because, I mean, they have so many players all over the place. I need to see him do it whenever there's actual pass rush in his face because they lead the NFL in sacks right now. So want to see how he does when there's pressure in his face. I'm sitting him for now over a lot. I'm sitting him and starting a lot of other quarterbacks above him. Tyrone Tracy, I think, is just a third down back at this point. I said that all throughout the offseason. Lil Jordan Humphrey gets an appearance here. I would have never thought that was going to be the case, but Jackson Dart likes to throw it his way deep down the field as their deep threat. I don't think as a deep threat he may get 2 or 3 targets and maybe catches one of them for 30 yards if he's lucky. Pat Bryant and Marvin Mims as receivers. This offense is really weird with how they're using their receivers right now outside of Cortland Sutton, so I'm kind of staying away from it. Evan Ingram could also be a solid person to start at your tight end position. He's been having a good past couple of weeks, but not starting him. I'm not excited about him more than the 3 guys that I have on the start list.
I'm starting Jackson Dart because of his rushing ability and not quitting on plays. So I think that there's
he
definitely
does not quit on plays. I think that's what's going to get him in trouble because he doesn't like to throw the ball away.
Maybe, but right now I'll take the rushing upside over Bo Nix. Bo Nix can do it well, but I think Jackson Dart's going to be the start for this game. And I also think that the one thing that's really disheartening about the Giants is I was really surprised that Lil Jordan Humphrey is getting time over Jalen Hyatt. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with either he's in the doghouse or he just doesn't fit in there because he was such an elite prospect, I thought, coming out of Tennessee. And
he was a problem, man.
And he was catching out routes in the game, against Philadelphia. He was just boom, out route, boom, out route. I think that they could feed him. I think he's more talented than Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think he could be wide receiver too, behind. I think he could beat out Slayton. I don't know what it is. I want to know. Like, if there's one NFL mystery that I got going on is what's going on with Jalen Hyatt down there in New York. But the rest of the list, I would just swap out Dart with Bo.
Really? So you think Dart outscores Bo Nix?
I do. I think that Dart got that W, knows that he can move and make plays. Philadelphia's defense is tougher than Denver's. Why not?
Hey, I'm cool.
He's going to be running from Nick Bonito. I'll tell you that. So he's going to have 20, 25 yards.
He's going to have to be doing that. He's going to have to be doing that. So next up, we have a very interesting matchup with, the Chargers have kind of cooled down over the past few weeks, especially since they lost to Omar and Hampton. And the Colts have just kept chugging along, man. They're a 5-win team now, right? Colts and the Bucks are the 2 teams that are 5-1 right now, which is, man, I like the Colts and I like the Bucks going into the season. I like the Bucks a lot more, but the Colts are going on the road for the Chargers. I like the Colts to win this game outright. I would definitely take the points, but I'm going to go money line Colts here. I think the Chargers have just had too many bad losses this year. And, they lost both of their tackles. I think Joe Alt might be back for this game, but you're starting running backs out. He's not back either. So both their tackles are out. Your RB1 and 2 are both out. Quentin Johnston should be able to play, but he's a little banged up. I mean, you've got a bunch of injuries, man. I'm sticking with the Colts. They are way more healthy here. And yes, it is on the road. I like the Colts to win here, though, outright.
I will just say that I'm looking forward to this game. I'm not giving the side away on this one because this is my free play for Sunday NFL football, but it's going to be a dandy of a matchup. I think that the line is really accurate to what it should be. But you're right. We do see a lot of injuries on over there for Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it's affected Justin Herbert. When you lose 2 tackles like that, that's a real – and Trey Pipkins is out.
Yeah.
So no Slater, no Pipkins. And then you want to rely on the running game when your offensive line is down like that. Well, it's going to be the Hassan Haskins show. And, to be fair, like, he was Harbaugh's running back in Michigan and didn't look too bad, can do pass pro, and he runs hard. He's like Scadaboo. Like, obviously,
he's
without
just
that
huge.
well, he's without the kind of talent, but he goes down there and he makes plays. He doesn't quit on plays. He's a great effort player, and I think that with that, we're going to see the Chargers kind of rise up, and then like with Indianapolis, they've absolutely been this.
They're on a
Get
roll
on
right
board.
now.
Daniel Jones just been tearing it up. I mean, but they don't have Josh Downs in this game, so I think you're going to see some Adonai
That's
Mitchell
tough.
snaps, which could be a problem for the Chargers defensively. But as long as Derwin James is back there, my God, make you better pick your poison. Tyler Warren, he's another guy that just goes crazy.
That's who Derwin James is going to be on Tyler Warren. Because I like Derwin James a ton, but if you put Derwin James on Adonai Mitchell is going to make Derwin James look stupid, just
Let's get
because
to
he's not
the
the athlete,
starts.
right? So I will say, going into this, I like a lot of people in this game to start. Now, I can only put 5 here, but Daniel Jones, I think, is an absolute start. I think Jonathan Taylor, he's the best running back in football right now. He leads the NFL in carries and still is like towards the top 5 in yards per attempt, which is crazy. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to get 20 plus carries easily this game. Tyler Warren, he leads the all tight ends in receiving yards right now. He leads the Colts in receiving yards, I think, and targets as well. He's just a monster. I was on the Tyler Warren train all offseason. He's continuing to be a monster. Justin Herbert and Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey had over 100 yards receiving last week. With Johnston out, I think he is a solid start still. You just see they're starting to utilize him a little bit more. I don't know if you saw the clip of him saying, "Give me the ball." He was on the sideline all hyped up. I think Justin Herbert, he heard a little bit of that, and I think they're going to start going Ladd's way a little bit more. So, like those, I like Johnston as a start. I like I got a Rondé Gadsden there, but I wouldn't feel the worst about starting him. Michael Pittman Jr. There's a ton of guys here. So for the sits, though, Alec Pierce, stay as far away from him as possible. He is only relevant if he catches a 7-yard touchdown. I will say this till the end of time. Josh Downs is out, so obviously don't start him. But for the running backs, Kamani Vidal had, I want to say 10 yards a carry. He had like 10 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown last week. With that being said, stay away from all of the Chargers running backs because I think Hassan Haskins, I agree with you, that 6'2", 220-pound running back Hassan Haskins, I think he is the better back, but I don't know who they roll with because Kamani had a great game last week. Do they stick it up with him? I know a couple weeks ago when Omarion had first went out, they gave both of these guys the same amount of carries, and then Kamani ran hot. I think it's whoever ends up running hot. They're going to give both the guys opportunities to perform, and whoever ends up getting hot is who's going to get the bulk of the carries. I don't like coin flipping that, so I'm going to stay away from him. And Rondé Gadsden, I think I love him coming out of Syracuse. I don't know if he's going to continue to stay relevant with Quentin Johnston coming back. I think he could have a decent role, but with Johnston coming back, I think his role is going to reduce just a little bit, and that's why I'm sitting in this week. But I do love him as a hold in Dynasty.
Yeah, I like Rondé Gadsden as well. I've got some shares of him. I've got Haskins starting because I do have my Hampton shares, so he's just kind of a fill-in. And no matter what happens, I'm always a firm believer that you're in Dynasty. I'm in like 3 rebuilds. It's kind of crazy. But the fact would be that, you want to still compete to win, even if I don't believe in tanking like that, like a lot of people do, and they just absolutely fucking tank. But pardon my language there. I think you still got to try and compete and still try to win. I've got some young teams, and like I said, I've got some Gadsden shares. I've got Amarian shares. I made that trade that I told you about where I traded Spencer Rattler and got Caleb Johnson. I think it's a long-term strategy to a rookie running back over a quarterback that might be fringe. Even though I do like Spencer Rattler a lot, you just don't know what's going on in the situations down there.
They can easily draft a quarterback and then he's worthless, right?
Or they can, or
we'll put Shuck in.
But the whole thing with trades is like, I don't believe in winning or losing a trade. I think you just try and make a trade that's beneficial for both teams. And I think that in his case, he needed a third quarterback option. And in my case, I got running backs that are banged up, and I don't know how long Jalen Warren's going to hold that job down. I think that Caleb's got that talent for the Steelers, and
Yeah.
he hasn't played yet, and they're trying to when they make players do things out of position. I don't like that, but nonetheless, good start sit there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll go ahead and move forward here. Also, before I get in here, I actually have a trade request right now from a guy that's got Lad McConkey. He wanted Gadsden and Matthew Golden for Lad McConkey. I don't know what to say to that. That's an interesting one. I think I'm sticking with the Golden side, but I think Lad is a good talent. Next up, we have an interesting matchup. The Washington Commanders on the road playing against the Dallas Cowboys. Washington are 1.5-point favorites. What happened to Diggs, man? What happened? He's just at his house and dude. He gets a concussion at his house. Apparently someone hit him. Perhaps that's the rumor that there was a domestic violence thing happening. That's just rumor, speculation. But that's what I heard. So someone hit him and maybe gave him a concussion. That's not a good look. So he'll be out. Deron Bland's been hobbling around all year. So they're without probably their best two corners, and their defense wasn't that good anyways. So I think I like the Commanders here. They're a decent football team. But the Cowboys have been rolling on offense, man. And they're at home. It's an interesting line. I think I'd lean the Commanders, but Terry McLaurin's also out. So they're missing some people as well.
I know we got the line -1.5 here, but the play on this one is the under 54. It just is. I know the Cowboys got this hole in the wall defense and they can move the football, but like you said, with key players out, it changes the whole perspective of the game.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see the Commanders try to run the ball more with Bill Merritt.
Yeah.
And then with Dallas, you're going to kind of see, Javonte Williams can bust some out there. I do notice, though, that he has lost a step based on all his injuries. He doesn't have that breakaway speed that he had at North Carolina. Who, speaking of North Carolina, on the first play of their game tonight against Cal, they fumbled right away.
I saw that. I got that on.
But I do like Dallas to cover the line here in a money line play if I had to pick a side here. But I think the play on this one is definitely the under. Which is wild. Yeah, I do. I don't think that the Commanders, I don't think either one of these teams are going to – I think it's going to be where they think that they have those advantages and then neither one of them pans out. Yeah. It's going to be that kind of situation in my eyes. Really? I think it's close because 54 is a lot in the NFL. You're basically saying it's going to be, 30 to 25. I don't know if the Commanders can hold up their end of the bargain. I think Dallas beats them. I think Dallas can beat them by more than a touchdown. It could be a situation where it's like 24 to 10.
Okay.
Which is definitely not close enough to cover the line.
I don't play the overs or the unders on the total points very often, but that is a decent little tidbit that you got going on there. But for the starts and the sits, I've got Jaden Daniels starting. I think with the rushing upside, you have to start him. He started a little slow in the first half and then kind of came back and had a decent game in the second half last week versus the Bears. Had a really tough interception in the first quarter. So I expect him to have a decent game versus the Cowboys. And then Debo, I know he's been having a heel injury that's been lingering for the past couple of weeks. I do expect him to play. I think he will be fine, and I think he's going to continue to be relevant this week. I really do. And Dak Prescott's playing like an MVP candidate right now. I know that sounds crazy, but he's been playing great football. I think he's a start. I think Javonte Williams is a great start. Yes, he lost the breakaway speed, but he is physical, man. He's traded all that speed for just downhill physicality. He wasn't really doing that much at Denver. Now he's with the Cowboys and looks like a different animal, man. He did have the best week last week, but I fully expect him to turn it on versus this Commanders defense. I do think they're going to try to get the run game going on both sides, like you said. And then CeeDee Lamb's finally back. I do expect him to be full 100%. I think he could have played last week if he wanted to, but they were being a little bit safe than sorry. I think CeeDee comes back and he has another really good game. And that comes to my sits. George Pickens, he leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns right now.
Yeah.
And he has been a monster the past few weeks. And I think CeeDee Lamb coming back really limits his ceiling. I really do. I like George Pickens in terms of his talent. But, yeah, I need to see what he does with CeeDee on the field. I guess you can start him in the flex, but don't expect him to have the games he's been having the past few weeks. Cavante, we don't even know if he's going to play. You can sub this for any other wide receiver, Jalen Tolbert, or any other guys that are in this offense. I just have Cavante Turpin up there as a placeholder. Terry McLaurin looks like he's going to be out again. Even if he wasn't out, he hasn't been producing when he's on the field, so staying away from him. Zach Ertz had a pretty good game, but I don't know how sustainable that's going to be. And Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I don't think, has a big enough game versus this Cowboys defense. I think that they're starting. He had a fumble. He's had a fumble in the past 2 games now that both went for turnovers. So, yeah, man, I think they're going to – once you start fumbling like that, I mean, I don't know if you remember Carson Steele from a couple of years ago for the Chiefs, but he was playing good football, and then he fumbled a couple times, and they just said, okay, well, I guess you can't have the ball anymore. And I don't think they're going to completely cut him out like they did Carson Steele, but they're going to give him less carries, I think, especially with Chris Rodriguez playing some solid football.
I think George Pickens might be still worth a start. I mean, just because of the secondary issues that are going on there with or just the way that he's been clicking with Dak. I mean, we don't know if Lamb's going to be back to 100% or not, but he's just been absolutely tearing it up, and the offense just seems to be rolling with those guys. Yeah. Other than that, I'm in full agreement. I mean, Zach Ertz might get you a touchdown, but he is a touchdown-dependent tight end. I mean, he's definitely going to be aging out, and I think that the Commanders will be looking to go somewhere else in the offseason with him.
What happened to Ben Sinnott, man? Like
maybe he just wasn't that dude.
He was a high draft pick for them. I think it was like an early second-round pick, right? And he just hasn't done much for them, unfortunately. Zach Ertz has just been saying, this is my job, So, yeah, for sure. That Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I mean, I love the burst and the acceleration, but he's going to have to figure out the fumbles. But next up, a game that you're probably a little – I mean, obviously you're a Packers fan, but you're in Arizona. Cardinals, I figured do you have seats for this game, man? I feel like this is a great opportunity to see your team play.
Yeah, it is, but when tickets are $250, I'm just not going to do it.
What?
I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to pay.
Cardinals. No offense to the Cardinals, but they're not a good team.
What happens when you live here in Arizona is you got people that are called transplants, and people move here from all over the United States, and they love their teams back home. So when the good teams come to town, like even the Lions, when they came here before they were bad, there would be batches of Lions fans. Anytime the Lions, the Steelers, the Bears, the Packers, the Vikings, or teams with long, rich NFL history come down here, they raise the price. Like the Titans game was $12, which ironically would have been the most exciting game to go to, would have been the most hilarious one to go to out of all of them. But in this game here, I like the Cardinals and the points here.
Really?
I think that the Cardinals, yeah, I do. Well, first of all, they had the bounce back spot last week, and Jacoby Brissett played well on the road in Indianapolis.
It looks like he's playing again.
Which I said he would do. I said that the Cardinals, they were my Sunday free play last week. For everybody that subscribes to my YouTube, I put free plays out every time there's football on. My free play tonight was Louisville plus 13.5 outright winners. I got a free play that's going to go up tomorrow that you guys are going to like in some SEC ball. And just you guys got to like and subscribe. You got to subscribe to my channel. I know most of the viewers are on X, and I did hit 200 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm so thankful. I'm pretty excited about that. But in this game here, the Packers they've been winning football games, which I love to see. I mean, they did beat the Bengals with Joe Flacco on a short week for him coming down here. That worked in Green Bay's advantage. But this is a Cardinals team, I think, that's still playing for Coach Gannon with respect. I think they realize that they're not losing games because of him. They're not demoralized. They're still fighting. Regardless of who plays a quarterback, Kyler's still questionable. But regardless of who plays, I think that it's going to be a tough matchup. Green Bay's offensive front is just not blowing me away. And it makes me – Jordan Love's been kind of overcoming that. And I think that they can still do that in this game. But I do think that the Cardinals, they're going to be able to keep it close. I think Marvin Harrison might have a big game. The Packers have a suspect secondary. It might be a game where they just say, you know what, we saw Flacco throw it to our best receiver 100 times. Maybe we'll do that in this game with Brissett. We'll just feed him the football. And I like Trey McBride against the Packers linebackers there. So I think the Cardinals can cover. I think this game will be really tight. It'll be a tight goal is what they like to call it. That's just my take on it. I think it's super close, and I love the Packers, but I'm being honest about it here. Until I see them have a game like they had week 1 where it was dominant from beginning to end, I'm not comfortable laying more than 3 points on the Packers.
Yeah, because all games in the NFL are really close. But let's get into the start sits here. Uh, you know, we'll get to him in a minute. But Jordan Love definitely, I think, is going to be decent versus the suspect Cardinals defense. I think Josh Jacobs, if they can get up early, I think Josh Jacobs can have a really good day where he gets
Hold on.
25 carries or
I got
so.
to interrupt you.
I know he's questionable, right?
He's sick. So with him being sick, I think that they're going to, I don't know if he's going to suit up. Yes, he is questionable, not doubtful, but still, this is 2 days after. Plus, you're getting on a plane. I'm not quite sure what his status is. They might have to go with, not Lloyd, but
Wilson.
yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely see. I'm curious to see if he does start. I think he's a must start if he's suited up. And Tucker Kraft, I think. I mean, man, he's one of y'all's best consistent receivers. I know he's a tight end, but he's the guy that's getting consistent targets every single week. I think he's got to be up there for some of the best tight end play this year. And then, as you can see, I don't know if you can see him or not. You might have to squint a little bit, but I do have Kyler as a start if he does play.
Is this what you were talking about earlier that was going to make me chuckle? Like, is that the meme? Did you do that on purpose?
Huh? I can't make him any bigger than that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Kyler gets so much shit for that, and that's just so funny.
If he doesn't play, I think Jacoby Brissett is a decent, spot starter if you need him to be. Because, he actually played really good last week,
Yeah.
So if Kyler doesn't play, well, then I think you can start Brissett over a few quarterbacks. And last but not least, Trey McBride. I know Kyler Murray is the better quarterback. I know he is. But I have Trey McBride on my fantasy team. And I would much rather Jacoby Brissett be the quarterback because he's going to target the receivers and he's not going to run around every single play from 2 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
So Trey McBride, definitely think he is a start regardless of who starts at quarterback. And I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. is also a start as well, but I would feel a little worse about it if Kyler is playing, even though I do think Kyler is the better quarterback. Now for the sits, Christian Watson might make his return this weekend. I loved him at North Dakota State. He is the definition of a freak. Just injuries have really screwed him over throughout his career. I thought he was going to be special. I know, 2022, he had that week where it's just like 2 touchdowns. Then he had another touchdown. He had like 7 touchdowns in 3 games.
Yeah, 3 against Dallas.
Yeah, and he went crazy. Now, unfortunately, injuries have kind of slowed him down. I don't know what his role is if he ends up playing. I know you're not going to start him over Matthew Golden, who you just picked in the first round, and he's playing like the Christian Watson type of role in some packages. So I just don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. So it's very interesting. I'm staying away from him until I figure it out. And then Dobbs, I feel like at the beginning of the game, all the wide receivers get into a room, Tucker Kraft included, and they all pull straws. And whoever gets the biggest straw gets the most targets that game.
Yeah. That's quite the concept for the NFL.
I don't know what they do. Funny. I think that's what they're doing, man, because it's just a coin flip. I think Tucker Kraft is the only consistent option in this offense. Not because y'all's receivers are bad, because I think you have a lot of really good options, but you just aren't getting the volume because you spread it around so much. Bam Knight is the biggest trap that you can start right now in fantasy football. He's cool, but he's touchdown dependent right now. Stay away from him. Same thing with Michael Carter. And then Michael Wilson. If MHJ doesn't play, I know he just cleared concussion protocol, so he should play. He should be fine. But if they have him on a pitch count, Michael Wilson is not the guy you want on your fantasy team. So stay away from any of those Cardinals.
How funny is it that Bam Knight and Michael Carter were both Jets? Now they're down here in Arizona. Arizona's the NFL's retirement home for some players. Like, it was kind of a running joke for how many Steelers came down here.
Well, not for wide receivers. That's Tennessee, unfortunately.
Yeah, Randy Moss and
Tyler Boyd, Tyler
Ridley.
Lockett. Yeah, Ridley. DeAndre Hopkins, somehow he escaped it. I don't know
Didn't
how.
Julio go there? Didn't Julio Jones go there?
Julio did go there. One of my favorite players ever, and he gets to go to the retirement home. Yeah. But here's another one here. The Atlanta Falcons. Hey, they actually came up. You called them a laughing stock of the NFL last week, I think is the words you used. They were like, "Hey, man, that's not very nice." And
They heard what I said.
they heard what you said, and they're like, "Look, man, we could be good sometimes." And but they are going on the road to play the San Francisco 49ers, who I think are 1 or 2 injuries away from having to pick up people from the airport and say, "Hey, you want a job?" Because everybody's hurt for them. Looks like Mac Jones, the remnants of Mac Jones, is going to play at quarterback. They've got Juwan Johnson out there, or Juwan Jennings. I'm sorry. Juwan Jennings out there with 5 broken ribs, a high and a low ankle sprain, and he's playing football somehow because they have to have him. Ricky Pearsall's out. They do get George Kittle back, but their line's messed up. Their defense is messed up. They have Nick Bosa out for the season. I mean, this team is just cursed, I guess. I do like the Falcons to win this game, though. I know that sounds crazy because Kyle Shanahan's a great offensive play caller, but I feel at some point your team's just way too banged up.
I'm going to take the 49ers here. Everybody knows that I despise San Francisco. But I love me some Mac 10. I like what he does when he's in there. He can lead those troops. I mean, he won that game against the Rams with less. I mean, they got Christian McCaffrey in there. He's got Kittle back, so that does help.
I hope the run game gets going because I have Christian McCaffrey going in fantasy, my main league. So,
but I will say that this game's really, really tough for me to cap. I do think the 49ers win. I think they win it by a field goal. When you're traveling from out west, I think that does throw your rhythm off a little bit because the sun's out later and you're not quite used to it at a later kickoff, and you're playing outdoors. Those kinds of things matter. But the thing about the 49ers is, pardon me, the Fred Warner injury, I think, is what we're going to really see what's going on.
I forgot to bring that up. Yeah, that's a really big loss.
So without him and without Bosa, you've got 2 all-pros out on your defense for the year. Now, with one, you can kind of overcome it, but when you lose Warner, I almost want to say that's a bigger loss than Bosa because how are the 49ers going to get to the quarterback? Believe it or not, the 49ers are trying to get Rashawn Gary. Now, if I'm a Packers GM, I'm going to charge the 49ers an arm, a leg, another arm, and another leg, and your arm next year to get Rashawn Gary just because you're the 49ers and you've been a thorn in our side in the playoffs. But I can see the Packers really not.
And you definitely don't want to see you don't want to see the 49ers in the playoffs and then Rashawn Gary has 3 sacks against you, right? That would be horrible.
That's what I'm saying.
I think he's a piece. I think he's a piece that you guys could get rid of because you got Van Ness. He's hurt.
He's out this week. He's out. So you got to kind of wait and see. That's what I'm saying about the Cardinals game. But nonetheless, 49ers win this game. I mean, I felt like it was peak Falcons last week. I mean, Bijan had that amazing 81-yard touchdown run. But we just got to see them do this stuff on the road for me to be a buyer of the Falcons. So give me the Niners. I'll lay the 3. 2.5. I think 23-20. 49ers win. Mac Jones does it again. Starts raising eyebrows. Alabama built, Alabama bred. Ironically, Mac Jones is a Saban guy, and then Michael Penix is a Kalen DeBoer guy.
Yeah. So Ricky Pearsall is announced out today. So I guess you start Kendrick Bourne now because he's just their guy whenever Pearsall's out. So I think Christian McCaffrey's a no-brainer start. He, weirdly enough, is second in the NFL in carries and has more receiving yards than he does rushing yards, if you can believe that.
It's believable.
Yeah, he's been really underwhelming on the ground because they just can't get any run lanes opening up. Now with George Kittle there to be that guy blocking on the outside, I think Christian McCaffrey's got even more upside now, even though I think he's the RB2 right now just because of the receiving upside. Christian McCaffrey, definitely a start. Kendrick Bourne, definitely a start with Ricky Pearsall out just because they have no one else to throw to. I think George Kittle could have a monstrous game if he can stay healthy because he looked like he was going to have a monstrous game. He had 4 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown on the first drive. And then he got hurt, unfortunately. So hopefully he can come back and really be a presence in the run game and another receiving target for Mac Jones. Bijan Robinson, you're stupid if you don't start him. He is just ridiculous. He can break off a play just like he did last week for 81 yards for a touchdown. Has the receiving upside as well. So you got to start him no matter what. And Drake London, Michael Penix is saying, look, you're my guy. You're gonna be the wide receiver 1 on this team. I am going to make you successful, and that's what Drake London has been the past few weeks. Is a very exciting football player to watch. Very similar to Tet McMillan. I think he's slightly better than Tet McMillan, but they're a very similar type of player. Then for the sits, Brian Robinson, I think, is a sit. I'm going to say that every single week. For whatever reason, Kyle Shanahan says, look, I have a running back. He's getting 99% of the carries. Brian Robinson will get 3 carries this week, I think. Brock Purdy, he's out at the time. I didn't know that, but with Mac Jones being in there, I would be okay starting Mac Jones. I wouldn't feel the best
Mac
about
10,
it,
baby. We love Mac 10.
Not starting Michael Penix this week versus the 49ers on the road. I think he might make a couple of mistakes, so staying away from him. And then Kyle Pitts. He was looking good there for a second, and then he came back to earth. And every time I start him, I won anyways, thankfully, but every time I start him, he's just like, hey, 2 points, take it or leave it, every single time. So staying away from Kyle Pitts until he can be a little bit more consistent. I don't think he's entirely his fault, but yeah, you got to wait till he's a little bit more consistent.
I think it's a good list there. Just no disagreements there. I mean, I know
Really?
Pearsall's out, but yeah, that's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
And as you segue into the next slide, we were talking earlier about college football here, and another top 25 team has fallen tonight as Nebraska has lost to Minnesota. A certain somebody, when we were doing Big Ten previews, said that Minnesota was a dark horse contender to play for the Big Ten championship because of that schedule. This is one of the games that they had to overcome, and they did it. PJ Walker is a good football coach.
What's their record right now, Minnesota?
Right now, they're 4-2, but they're 2-1 in the Big Ten. This will put them at 3-1, and they beat a ranked team. So expect Minnesota to be ranked after.
I wonder.
After this.
I'm gonna see after the show. I'm gonna see what Raiola put up because he's been really hit or miss for me. I know he's been lighting up the stat sheet, but he's just been kind of hit or miss with me with some of the ball placement that he's had. But on to the next game. One of my favorite teams in the NFC, and another team that I like a lot in the NFC, the Buccaneers going on the road to play the Detroit Lions. Now, unfortunately, the Buccaneers are very, and emphasis on very, very banged up. Tristan Wirfs is hurt. Bucky Irving's hurt. Their wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 are all out. You've got some defensive injuries as well. Now, the Lions, they are pretty much fully healthy. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've got Jared Goff, who leads the NFL in passing touchdowns, leads the NFL in completion percentage. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, both ready to go. I think Detroit does win this game. I think the Buccaneers, they're one of the best teams in football, in my opinion, and I think Baker Mayfield can make something happen with nothing. But I think at some point the Lions are too good and you are too injured, and I think they're just going to get hunted like a wounded animal this game, and I think the Detroit Lions do win by a touchdown.
I'm not sure that the Lions win by this one by a touchdown because their secondary is just absolutely depleted. Yep. Where's Kirby Joseph been? Terrion Arnold's out. Their secondary is awful. Now, I know that Tampa Bay doesn't have the horses back there to just, especially with Egbuka being out there, and that is a game
Sterling
changer.
Shepard and
but they still
Tez Johnson and.
But I think that Rashad White can do it here. The Detroit.
He burned me a little bit last week. I won, thankfully, but I had to play against Rashad White, and I'm like, stop throwing the ball at him, damn it! Like,
I think
stop.
that you're going to see a situation here where the Buccaneers get a backdoor cover.
I
This
hope
is a
so,
game.
man.
This is a game I wouldn't touch because the Lions do play amazing football at home.
And
I
the
mean, they're going
Bucks
to be
are
licking their
slower.
chops after that Chiefs game, because every time they play somebody good, the Lions have been knocked down. They got knocked down by Kansas City. They got knocked down by Green Bay. They beat up some cupcakes. They beat Chicago. And I'm sorry, Chicago isn't elite yet in my eyes. They're just
No, they're not
offensively, they're
elite.
good.
I think they
Offensively,
could
they're
be a
good.
dark horse playoff team, but I don't think they make it past the divisional.
But I think with Tampa Bay, their defense is a lot better. I think that Gibbs is going to have a hard time running the football with Montgomery, with Vita Vea, and what's going on with the Buccaneers. Defensively, I like that matchup to slow down the Lions' offense, but I think the Lions do win, but I think the Bucks can cover. Might be a little money line sprinkle on this one on Tampa Bay, though.
Yeah,
I
I
feel
can
like
see that for
they can
sure.
win that game and really take charge of the NFC South, because then if they win this game, they got a tiebreaker over them, because it looks like Tampa's going to win this division in spite of all these injuries. It's like the 49ers of the East. It's kind of the same
Well, they're
situation.
just a good football team.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield. I mean, I know that I said Dak's playing like an MVP level. As of right now, if the season ended today, I think Baker Mayfield's the MVP.
yeah.
He's been playing crazy football. I mean, I watched some of his tape because I had to watch. I did a film breakdown for Emeka Egbuka, so I wanted to see, all these throws Baker Mayfield was putting on him. He is ridiculous. Some of the throws he makes is just like, wow. Baker and that third down against the 49ers where he just had to break 2 sacks and stiff arm a guy, and then he had to, reach out for the first down before he got tackled. I mean, he's just a dog. I'm so happy he's doing well. Rashad White, I think, is a great start as well at this point with Bucky Irving looking like he's not going to play again. I don't think they've ruled him out just yet, but I don't think he's going to be playing. So Rashad White again is going to be a fairly consistent fantasy option for us until Bucky comes back. Jared Goff has been the definition of consistent this year outside of one slight dud. He's been 2 touchdowns, no picks, 250 yards every single game, and then obviously versus the Bears, I think he threw 5 touchdowns versus them. But Jared Goff, he leads the NFL in touchdown passes, him and Rodgers, but obviously Rodgers has an extra game and 4 touchdowns on that. So Goff, he's having a great season once again, very efficient. Think he's worth the start as your QB2. Jahmyr Gibbs, you have to with how explosive he is. Yeah, he might not have the best game versus Vita Vea in this defensive front, but with the explosiveness and the speed and the pass catching, you got to start Jahmyr Gibbs. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, he did not have a good game last week. He didn't. They couldn't get the passing game going that much, and Amon-Ra just didn't really do a whole lot, but yet he still finished with like 15 PPR fantasy points because they gave him like 12 targets. He caught like 8 of them for like 40 yards. He's going to get the volume. That's going to get the volume every single week. ARSB, and you know what? I'm glad that you brought up USC, Mekhi Lemon. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I see a lot of Mekhi Lemon.
Is it just because they both went to USC?
No. They are so similar. They're
Telling you, Cleveland, get Ty Simpson, get Mekhi Lemon, sell your future picks. Like, do it on this one. That's what you want to do.
Mekhi Lemon might be a top 12 pick, man. He's that ridiculous. But Mekhi Lemon, not the best athlete. Neither is Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they both have crazy reliable hands. They can get the back of the end zone, toe tap, touchdowns. And they're both very sneaky, good after the catch. They're very similar players. So if you guys are looking at y'all's rookie drafts, I do think there's one wide receiver better than Mekhi Lemon. Right now, Mekhi Lemon is my wide receiver 2. I'm not going to give away who my wide receiver 1 is yet because I will be talking about him probably in an in-depth video here soon. But Amon-Ra St. Brown he's very much a start here. Jameson Williams is only relevant if he scores a big-time catch or a big-time touchdown, so stay away from him. He's had a really underwhelming year thus far because of all the trick plays. David Montgomery, unfortunately, he can either get you 20 carries and a bunch of points or nothing. I mean, I know they're trying to get him more involved, but we're not sure just yet what he's going to be utilized each and every week. It's not consistent. None of the wide receivers. I like Tez Johnson a ton. I'm glad he's getting on the field because he was a top 8 receiver for me pre-draft, but the landing spot was horrible. Because there's so many people in front of him. But Sterling Shepard, Tez Johnson, Cameron Johnson, all those guys. I mean, who knows who's going to get the volume? Sean Tucker, he got a touchdown last week. Stay away from him. And then Cade Otton is a nothing burger for me. He's probably the worst starting tight end in the NFL for me in terms of fantasy outlook, right? So
good stuff, man. Let's just head on to the last one.
All right. Well, last but not least, let's go ahead and see what our last game is.
It's part of the Monday night doubleheader.
Oh, yeah. What a great game to have on Monday night. No offense to either one of these teams because one of these teams is really cooking. But the Houston Texans going on the road to play the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are minus 3.5-point favorites. I don't know if the Texans are good or not, honestly, at this point.
I do. I know the answer to these questions. This is my favorite play of the NFL week on Monday night, and I'm not going to give it away here. You've got to be on my X. You've got to subscribe to my channel to get this play. This might be a 3-unit play for me here is how much I love what's going on in this game. So I've got a great pulse on this one here. It's my favorite matchup.
Really? Well, we'll just go straight by the spread and we'll get into this. Okay. Sam Darnold been playing super well this year. I think he's worth a start, absolutely. Jackson Smith-Njigba, dude. Wow.
What a year.
What a
breakout season for him. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, he broke out last year, but this year it's just been on a different level. I mean, every week it's like 10 for 130 and a touchdown. Last week he did even better than that, right? He caught a 65-yard touchdown, I think. I mean, just him and Sam Darnold have been on the same page all year long, and I don't expect that to be slowing down anytime soon. The Texans, C.J. Stroud has been getting better and better each week. I think he can have a decent game. He is a low ceiling quarterback because he doesn't offer you a ton of rushing upside, but I think he has a safe-ish floor of like 13, 14 points. He's not going to go out there and throw 4 picks or anything. Nico Collins, I think, is worth a start as well, just because he's the number one option in that offense. And I think Christian Kirk as well. I know the Seahawks defense a little banged up right now. Christian Kirk, I think, is a guy that can get 8 catches maybe, and not a lot of yardage, but definitely can get a ton of catches. For the
another local Arizona kid.
Really? Christian Kirk?
Yeah, he's from here, and then the Cardinals drafted him. What a dream, huh? Can you imagine that? Like, he grew up.
He actually had a good little stint with the Cardinals, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He learned from Larry Fitzgerald.
So for the sits, I'm staying away from both of the Seahawks running backs. I just can't do it.
There's a rumor going around real quick. Did you see who the Seahawks might be trading for? Just a rumor.
Is it Breece Hall?
No.
Is it a running back?
Yes. I'll give you one more guess.
Be?
Devon Achane.
Why?
So the theory is that Kenneth Walker's contract is up and he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And
so
Charbonnet.
What are you going to do with Charbonnet?
I mean, he might be the guy that just sits the bench another year. They might cut ties with him. You never know it's just a
second round pick. I mean, I understand because the running game has been working for them kind of, but they just split the carries basically right down the middle. So you can't start either one of them in good faith, I don't think, right now. AJ Barner had just a couple of big blow up weeks and then has kind of returned to earth. So stay away from him. And both of the running backs, I think Nick Chubb continues to see the workload here, but Woody Marks is being annoying right now. So I'm going to stay away from both of those running backs for now. Staying away from the running game completely in this game.
That's our last game.
That's our
Is it
last
not?
game. That I believe that's the last one. Yep, that's the
What
last
a
one.
fantastic lineup. You got anything that you want to plug or promote? Anything
Uh,
exciting going on this weekend?
Watching football. Heck,
Hey,
a lot of football. I'll say that much. And I will be recording some Cam Scadaboo here soon. So be on the lookout for that. That'll drop Monday for people that are, interested in the film breakdowns. Cam Scadaboo film breakdown will be coming out Monday. And Cal is looking pretty solid right now.
well, it's
North
North
Carolina
Carolina.
just tied it up, but man, I like some of what this quarterback's doing.
I'll say this to wrap it up. First of all, you guys need to go to Bobby's channel, like, subscribe. He's got not daily, but he's got, when he puts fantasy content out there, it's really good, well done with film study. It's absolutely elite fantasy football breakdown. That's why he's the analyst on this show for those kinds of things. I'm your betting expert, Justin from Justin Paul Sports. I've been on an absolute tear with my free picks lately. The last 2
Absolutely.
weeks, I've just been cooking. On my college football, $10. It's $10, y'all. You pay that in VIG. I'm going to put my picks up in the morning. I've got 3 plays that I normally put up for college football. I don't like to do the betting where, that I had somebody reach out to me and ask me, how many picks could they get for, the $10 that they pay? And I'm like, well, I don't do the whole board, because when you do the whole board, your brain goes to things that you don't like, and you're doing matchups for the sake of trying to provide a service for a customer. Whereas I believe in giving you the quality plays that I really like.
Yep.
And like I said, I've got a free pick that's going to go up tomorrow in an SEC matchup. And then I've got an NFL that we talked about on Sunday. In that, what was it? The Colts Chargers game. You'll see that free pick go up. My picks go up around 6 to 7 a.m. Pacific time. And then Monday, I told you I just like the game that we just talked about, Houston and Seattle. That free pick will be going up. And Bobby's been gracious enough to put up these shorts for me, so they're quick and easy. And I'm asking you guys, $10. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, and $10 get the college football plays. And we're coming up on the end of Canadian Football League here, and I'll have a few playoff games, and then I've got a specialty for the Grey Cup, which is going to be coming up in November, right around Thanksgiving weekend. It'll be fun. This is the heart of football season. We're going to really start seeing who's separating from who with these college games. It'll be rivalry week. Before you know it, the season will be wrapping up, and my heart will be broke again. But when college football wraps up, then we got a playoffs now, which is kind of good to overlap with the end of the NFL season and things along that sort. And then I will have college basketball players for you guys. And I will have UFL when that starts. We'll start in March, right when March Madness wraps up. And then we'll go work on all our offseason stuff. We'll probably be bringing back the All 22 Dynasty Fantasy Football Show to go over all those prospects. That's Bobby's wheelhouse for sure. And we are going to do the Garcia cast with Steven Garcia for round 1. I'm working on seeing if I can get some more guests to join us. I think I've got a couple guys set for day 3 just to talk some ball. We're going to marathon the whole thing, and we want you to tune in.
It's going to be sick. I'm super excited for that.
That's where Bobby's got some things he's going to debut, so make sure that you tune in. Of course, that's not until, next May? Isn't the draft April or May?
April.
We got time. We still got, by the way, last little nugget, Shohei Ohtani hit 3 home runs, pitched 6 innings, and threw 10 strikeouts tonight.
Who did he play?
It's for the AL or the NLCS. They're about to beat Milwaukee and sweep them and go to the World Series. So
he's pretty good, I guess. Some
guess
might
so.
call him the best.
Yeah, it's great. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to sign off. Enjoy the football games the next 2 days. And as I always close out with, have a great weekend and roll tide, y'all. Thank you.